What's up, guys? How's it going? Thank you very much for being here. This is going to be an interesting one today. I'm just going to let you guys know in advance. We're doing a podcast, and I'm muted right now, just so that they all know that in advance they're going to be like, oh my goodness, Gid is such a weird guy, because he's busy talking to himself, alright? He's not actually talking to himself. He's busy. He's busy. Give me 1 second, okay? Give me 1 second.
Anita's auto-hosting before she goes live.
Hi.
Hi. Oh, hey, good. I was wondering if you got my message.
No. It was just really funny because, you know, obviously I was gonna I was just about to message you guys being like, oh, just give me 5 minutes. Like, I'm just gonna open and tell my stream what's going on. And then I was like, hang on, I should check if Anita's on the same screen as me. And then I checked and I was like, oh, my face is live. I was like,
oh, there I am.
We're on.
So hi.
Hello, everyone. Lucy, you're getting so many hellos.
Am I?
Yeah, everyone loves you tonight.
I kind of like, I closed off your chat because I was like, if anyone's mean, I'm gonna cry, and like, I don't want to cry. Like, I'm not gonna look. Hi, guys.
Don't worry, I think the mods do have our backs once again.
Okay.
Indeed.
Mods, you got extra work on your hands.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
So, Owl, do you want to go first? Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Well, hello there, everyone. I'm Owl, SecretOwl1. I'm very glad to be invited on. Overall, we said that today's going to be about depression. Let's just say that, like most of you, I have at least some semblance of experience with it. And I'm really looking forward to seeing whether we are going to agree on some stuff, how we're going to agree, and overall, the course of the conversation. Yeah. Keeping it awkward, I guess. But yeah.
How about you, Gideon?
Hi.
Do you want to say hello to everyone?
This is the opposite of ladies first, isn't it?
We're being
Hi.
chivalrous tonight.
Exactly, absolutely. Nice to meet you all. My name's Gideon. I go by Gid or Giddawid on Twitch. I am a community manager for a game called Dead by Daylight, which some of you might have heard of. And if you haven't, why not? You know. But
Nice plug.
yeah, exactly. But I've been dealing with mental illness and depression, especially for the last sort of 15 years. So it will be very interesting to hear everybody's thoughts, and hopefully we can help you guys out with our experiences. And something we did want to point out was that we're not healthcare professionals. None of us unfortunately, as much as we might tell you we could paper mache your broken arm back together, we're for people here that are just having an opinion and sharing experiences and advice together. So that's just something to think about moving forward. But yeah, hi.
And obviously, you might have heard of me, guys, seeing as, yeah, you probably on either mine or Gideon's stream. But in case you don't know, I have Tourette syndrome. I am not trying to be rude to these guys whatsoever. When I inevitably offer to fist them, I don't mean it. It's not that kind of stream, unfortunately. Hello, Sailor. And how about you, LucieePie?
Oh, I have a burp coming just as you asked that. I was like, keep talking. So, my name's Lucy. I'm a full-time streamer. I mainly stream tarot card readings. I'm a bit more into like the spiritual stuff. That's kind of my path of how I helped and healed my depression, is through like spirituality and the power of your mind, and things like that. I'm really interested and excited to hear everyone's experiences tonight. I just hope I don't cry. I'm a very like sensitive person, and I think that hearing other people going through hard times sometimes a little bit like, oh. So
Can I cry on your cock?
Yes.
Alright.
But yeah,
Maybe it's that kind of stream tonight.
I don't know. I'm really looking forward to talking tonight, and I hope that I can bring something new and a little bit different to the table. And yeah, it's going to be really good. I'm really excited.
Awesome. So tonight we kind of chose depression because a lot of you guys tend to write in on the Discord and DM me about stuff. I don't know why you guys think I have any answers, so I kind of look to other mental people for help. So we're all here to chip in. But the main question that we got was, we had this lovely chap who he's very isolated at this point. He's deep in his depression, and he has kind of lost his He's lost his motivation to get up and do things, and he kind of knows that he needs to improve his life in order to get out of this rut. But when you're so depressed that you can't get out of bed in the morning, and it's difficult to even pay attention to things you normally like your hobbies, like watching films and playing games and things like that, it feels impossible to get out there and get on with your job and things like that. And how do you get from that mental place to somewhere where you're actually rebuilding your life and building something you can be happy in? Which I thought was a really, really good question, and not something that I've ever really spoken about on stream or heard anyone else talk about. So thanks for that question. You know who you are, sweetheart.
It's
So
definitely.
who wants to start?
I mean, I can definitely take the floor. Just in terms of someone that can completely relate to that feeling, and I had an analogy for it that I came up with a few years ago, which was kind of the equivalent of, if you close your eyes and imagine yourself standing in front of a big tree, and the tree has so many different branches on it, and on every branch is an activity that you could do that day. So it might be like skiing, paintballing, all this kind of stuff, even getting out of bed. And there'll be one branch that just says, what's the point? And once you start to fixate on that one branch, the rest of the tree starts to rot, and you only then fixate on that one branch, and it can be really difficult to move away from that or climb your way to a certain branch, except that one. And it's dangerous because you can find yourself in bed for the next 18 hours thinking that you've accomplished a lot, when realistically you've been just overthinking and trapping yourself for the entire day. So I can absolutely relate to how they're feeling, for sure. And yeah, I just wanted to explain it a little for anybody else out there that might not have had that feeling, or may have had that feeling but not known that others have gone through it too.
I like that analogy a lot.
Yeah,
Thank
Sorry.
you.
Amazing. And I'm going to focus on that. Something that's really important is to understand and to acknowledge that that's the fixation that you have. That you have that fixation, that it is something that's keeping you down. That's the first step. The fact that I see many of you currently on the chat think like, I'm also going through this. This is the very first massive step that you need to take in order to actually start dealing with this. Accepting that you do have something and accepting that you do need help is massive, and you need to just be proud of yourself for making that. After that, there are going to be many crushing waves of a lot of...
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're really crackling up a bit.
Allow me a second, let me fix it.
Okay.
I'll fuck his friends.
Should be okay now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Sorry. Yeah, sometimes Discord does that to my microphone. But yes, as you were saying, it's very important to accept that you need help. And after that, you need to build from there. You need to push yourself to do things that you would not have done. It's, I guess, another analogy on how I was dealing with it is that, you know, when you go to apply for a job and it's like you need 5 years of work experience but it's just an entry-level job. You need to fake it until you make it, basically. You need to sit down and tell yourself that if we're going to get out of this, we need to work, first of all, together. You need to work with yourself. You cannot expect others to give you a hand when you do not reach out for it.
I expect dick.
And yeah, overall, it's a massive piece. It's a massive step to accept that you need help. And congratulations to all of you in the chat, and to the person that did message Anita about it.
Definitely. An analogy I brought up earlier for these two, because Lucy wasn't here yet, she was sleeping, was was the idea of, when it comes to reaching out, is it's kind of like being on a lifeboat, or trying to be on a lifeboat, and you fall out. You fall out of it, and like Owl was saying about crashing waves, it's like you start to sink in this sea of horseshit basically around you, and as you go deeper and deeper, you start to feel like there's less and less people that want to help save you, and a lot of the time people will dive their hands into the water to offer you a chance to get back out of that depression, of that sadness that you're feeling, but you also have to be willing to grab their hand. Like, that's a big part of it, is you have to take that opportunity to say, hey, I'm going through some tough times right now, but these people care about me. And that can be really hard to accept and admit to yourself as well, that that even when you're at your lowest, that doesn't mean that people don't care about you, as much as your brain might be telling you that.
I like dick.
That too.
Well, I've got to say, like, I kind of agree with the fake it till you make it thing with the demotivation side of it. There is kind of this kind of rut that you get in a cycle with, where you lay down and you can't pick yourself back up again. But in order to pick yourself back up again in every respect, you literally have to get up. And so that has to come from the end fumes. Like, I do agree that there is going to come a time where you really don't feel like it, but the only solution is to get up and try anyway. And I kind of feel like it's that point that's the defining and most pivotal point in depression. I mean, when I was in it at its worst, I definitely found a point where I hit rock bottom. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to get up. I didn't even want to eat, you know? And I got there. Hey, kitten. I ended up getting there just by forcing myself to get up. And I found that a big part of it was exercise. Like, I got a lot more energy from expending energy somehow. That sounds so fucking counterproductive, but I gotta say, there are studies that support it. It can be as effective as a lot of medications, even, to get out there. And I really can't. Kitten, I can't fuck my cat. I can't recommend it enough. Exercise and sleep. And by sleep, I mean, right, so I was running and I was challenging myself to run further and further every day. And the rush of endorphins was very balancing for me. And the second thing is natural sleep, where you wake up without an alarm. So I would recommend figuring out how much time it takes you to wake up naturally. 6 or 7 hours is about average. For some people, it's 9. And what you do is you set your alarm when you go to bed for an hour after you would wake naturally. And it's there as a kind of insurance measure to make sure you don't oversleep. But what you want to do is you want to give your body the chance to have a full cycle and a full regenerative cycle at that, so that you wake up having let your body do exactly as it needs to do. And fuck the queen and fuck it. And basically, you know, you through those two things, I really did get out of a very, very dark place. And it started with no motivation, and all of the it's like a ping pong ball, and it's bouncing between the two things. It's almost like an echo. You need one to do the other. And it's like, So you need to get up and you need inner motivation, and you need to change your world in order to start bouncing back and forth between the two and going up and up and up and improving your life. But it's definitely both of those things that will get you out there, will get you out of that rut. I kind of, from my experience anyway. And yeah, I'm not sure there's anything that in specific that will suddenly make you go zing, I'm ready for the world now from the deepest part of depression. That is just literally something that's just going to be going to have to be hard.
Yeah.
It's momentum, isn't it? You have to like build that momentum, and if like an object isn't moving, it's so hard to move it. And that's how I see depression. When you're at like that point, you're at that rock bottom, you're just in this like pit of I'm not moving. That's where it takes like the biggest push. For me, like motivational, fucking love motivational speaking and like videos, because if you imagine like your body responds to your thoughts. So if you start listening to like you could do it kind of stuff, and I mean it doesn't work for everyone, but it definitely works for me. So when I was in that point of like zero, I was like listening to stuff where it was like starting to get my engines revving, and although I wasn't propelling and moving like at 60 miles an hour all of a sudden, it really like helped me to build up some sort of form of like momentum to actually like push myself out of it. And that was especially in the days when depression is like I can't get out of bed and I feel useless and life seems pointless, and that the motivation to do anything, I think that's, if you can't do anything, at least sit and do nothing and listen to something like motivational stuff. I don't know. And like even like mindfulness and all that kind of stuff really, really like hit the nail on the head for me with that kind of stuff.
I guess I found it interesting from sorry, Al.
Yeah.
You said about sleep patterns. I just wanted to quickly point out that I have an app on my phone called Sleep Better. That's on my iPhone. So if anybody has Apple products, I know you can get it on there. I don't know if you can necessarily get it on Android, but I'm sure there will be apps similar. But with this one, it was a free app, and I did it out of curiosity to see how I was sleeping. And basically, it just records when you have deep sleep or when you have light sleep, and basically tells you how much of the time you were, I guess, having proper sleep. My family are incredibly jealous because I can deep sleep for like 80 or 90% of the time that I'm asleep. So everybody's really sort of just upset at how much sleep I get. But in terms of that, it can be very simple to just have a free app, try it out. If it doesn't work for you, or you notice, hey, like I haven't been sleeping fantastically well, change your sleep pattern, like in terms of your bedtime routine, how you approach going to sleep. Drinking, if you drink tea, like you can have certain types, or you can use a diffuser if it helps you sleep, and all that kind of stuff. But getting into a good sleeping schedule absolutely is vital, I'd say, because it gives you that rest that you need to be able to want to get up. And sure, like you might wake up and suddenly you're not in that place where you want to get out of bed necessarily, but if you're having the proper kind of sleep, then at least you've taken that step that day. On those really tough days, it's like, hey, I did all the right things, I'm just having a bad day. So
Yeah.
Tough days is exactly what I wanted to touch on. No matter how many steps you take, no matter whether you get momentum going, whether you get a pattern going, or even an everyday routine that helps you, you need to acknowledge and understand that there are going to be bad days. And when those days come, you must not beat yourself over it. You need to accept that this is a long process. It's not tomorrow I'm going to start doing this, and I'm going to be just 10 out of 10, I'm going to be happy in a week. Sadly, it's not like that. We wish that it was like that, but sadly, it's really not. So you need your time, and you need to accept that it's going to be a process. So on those bad days, what I did is that I found some things that really helped me.
Dick. You found dick. Sorry.
I found some things that really helped me, and I put those aside and focused on the things that helped me a little bit less, a little bit. And when those days came, the days that I really needed something, like a big boost, that's the only time that I allowed myself to go for the things that gave me the big boost that I needed. But yeah, overall, routine, as mundane as it might be at some point, is needed. At some point, you will get to a point that you're like, I'm not feeling terrible, but I'm not feeling fine. I'm just at a point that I can be okay with myself. And that is a very good point to take a step back and stop pushing yourself. You need to rest.
You need some milk. Sorry. I'm gonna keep doing this to you guys. I'm
okay.
really sorry.
Yeah, you need to rest. So just take a step back, lower the momentum a bit, and when you feel like you're ready, then start pushing again. But yeah. I think you were going to say something.
Anything to add?
Okay.
I kind of assume that we're doing this like it's Gideon, and then it's Owl, and then it's you, and then it's
No,
me. And
it's just a chat.
No.
Okay.
Just drop in.
Just do what you
Yeah,
feel like.
exactly.
If you've got
Okay.
something to say, say
Exactly.
it.
If you want to have a fab attack, have a fab attack.
Yeah, we can all
it's
fap
I'm
together.
allowed to do that. Yeah. I think it's really good. I think that that clip that you made, Anita, about the £5 note was really, really good too. And there was something that you mentioned as well about people beating themselves up if
I beat
know
my cock.
where it's like you convince yourself, or it's like I'm in a bad place, but these people have it this bad, and this person has it this bad, and there's people starving in these countries, so my problems are irrelevant, and how I feel is invalid, or I shouldn't feel the way I feel because I have a home and I have like a great life, and just because you're not enjoying it, I don't know, just because you have all these great things and you're not enjoying it, you shouldn't feel like bad for it. And is it invalidating your own? Is that what the word is? You coined the term and you said it really well. I think it's invalidating your own feelings, and by comparing it to other people's struggles, you think that you're not allowed and you're not entitled to feel how you feel. And you were saying something about it, and it was really got me thinking, because I think a lot of people do that. They guilt themselves, and be like, I can deal with this headspace, and then you kind of get yourself more in a rut with it as well, because then you don't want to. You won't really do much to like fix it. You just kind of keep trucking on with it until you can't truck on anymore.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I kind of feel like if you keep turning away from the elephant in the room, it's going to grow until it crushes you. So if you keep guilting yourself out of facing your problems, it doesn't help you, and it doesn't help the people you're guilting yourself about. And I mean, a big one that people keep saying is like, there are people starving in Africa, you have it good. Appreciate what you've got. And I hate that stereotype because, one, there are plenty of like, very developed areas of Africa. It's not all, we have a very romanticized idea of Africa. But secondly, if let's sidestep that completely. So basically, with that whole situation, it doesn't benefit anyone in Africa or you to make yourself feel guilty about feeling bad. Healthy people with healthy emotions suck my dick. They fuck my friends. They actually face their problems. And the thing with that is, if you actually face your problems and you allow yourself to feel sad when it's appropriate to feel sad, because otherwise nobody's allowed to feel sad because somebody else has it worse off somewhere. There's only one person in the world who's allowed to feel bad. If we have this logic where you've got it better than someone, so you can't feel a single bad thing, and it doesn't make you happy. It doesn't fix my cock. It doesn't fix anything about the problem. It just keeps you turning away from the elephant until it crushes you. And every time I found throughout my life that if I turned away from my problems, they just smacked me harder from behind instead. Like,
Yeah.
and when you a lot of people keep telling me they think that if you don't give something a name, if you don't address it verbally, if you don't talk about it, then you don't give it power. But it's the opposite. Like, the minute you give something a name, the minute you take the mystery out of it, the minute you confront it, you take away its power. This is how it works with horror movies. We all know this. The minute you see the monster, it's like 10 million times less fucking scary. It just
Or
ruins
Voldemort,
it.
when they're like, he must not be named. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Why must he not be named? You know?
Yeah.
Just call him, you know, Dick Man or whatever.
Yeah, and then he won't be as OP.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Fuck, take him down.
Expecto fuck office. Yeah.
I like that one.
I was just going to go off of what you said, though, Anita, in terms of, you know, the idea of people being, oh, you've got it better than this other person. It's like, you don't know that, though. Like, from the outside, yes, maybe, but mentally, I don't know how you guys are feeling right now. I don't know the level of happiness you get from being 10 out of 10, the happiest you can be, because your 10 might be my 2 in terms of our happiness. And it's the same with, like, the way people see colors. Like, you might see green as what I see pink. We don't have any basis for what each other has going on up here, so we have to take everything step by step and be aware and understanding of other people's dick, and make sure that you genuinely take that on board. And whenever someone comes into the chat and they're having a particularly bad day, I try my hardest to make sure that they know that the people are here for them, because you don't know if you're the last lifeline that they've reached out to that day, because maybe their friends are busy, maybe they can't talk to their parents about a serious situation. So being able to come and talk to us, I think, is what is so amazing about this podcast in itself. So thank you.
Yeah, I think there's something important you said there as well, like which kind of reminds me a bit of like what I'd gone through. Sometimes I think people stress the fact, you know, reach out to a friend or reach out to somebody that you love or talk to somebody. And I know I'm somebody that never really had anyone to talk to. And I think that self-help has been like something that's been amazing for me. If you do feel alone, and if people keep telling you, you know, oh, you have to reach out to someone, you have to reach and talk to somebody else about it, and you don't have that, then don't cut yourself off from like, I can't get better because I don't have anyone to speak to. There are things that you can do just by you just chilling on your bed and like listening to like guided meditations, or just like processing your stuff, you know, writing things down and learning more about yourself. I think depression and any kind of mental illness and any kind of like up or down in your life teaches you more about yourself, especially the darker parts. It's like you need the darkness to see the stars kind of thing. And the moon is all about like reflection, which again comes out at well, most of the time it's at night, unless, you know, sometimes it comes out in the day. But you know, you can really like learn a lot about yourself. So if you're somebody that's on your own and you don't feel like anyone understands, because I'm somebody that I have a mom, but I tried to speak to her about my mental health issues, and she just really didn't get it. And she was very, go to the doctors, get tablets, and shut the fuck up. Oh, sorry, can I say? Oh yeah, I can swear. I don't know why I'm fighting so hard then. I was like,
if we can't, we're in trouble.
I don't know, but yeah, you know, it was very like, shut up, Lucy, and like take tablets and, you know, deal with your stuff. And I think as well, something you mentioned as well about, you know, labeling things and being like diagnosed helps you, addressing the elephant in the room helps you to overcome it. I do think that when you're labeled as like depressed, what really matters is like why. I remember when I was younger, I was diagnosed with depression, and I was so frustrated because I didn't understand. Like, I was like, I get it, I'm depressed, but why? But why?
Butt fucking.
Exactly. So yeah, I think that self-help. If you feel alone, you can do it alone. So don't think that you're doomed just because you've got no one to speak to. Okay.
Something that is really important is, as Lucy said, she reached out to someone and they do not understand. You really, especially when it comes to parents and people of older ages, you really shouldn't blame them. It's not their fault that in their time all of this was such taboo. It was really like, oh no, if there's something wrong with you, you need to go to a doctor, or it's just you're faking it, you're seeking attention, anything. It's not their fault. So don't blame them. I can understand that when you're reaching out to someone and they do not help, it might distort your relationship with them. But it's really important to be accepting of that too. And if not like your mother or your father or your best friend, reach out to someone else. Reach out to 2 people, 3 people. Do your best to find someone to help you. And if there's no one, then yes, focus on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Always focus on yourself.
I started my journey fighting with depression quite young, but I didn't have very much support. Here in the UK, I tried to get help from the NHS and I was put on these massive waiting lists. I think I waited for 1 year and 3 months for my first therapy sessions, and I didn't really click with any of the therapists that were allocated to me during my teens. In fact, they kind of made my situation worse because I was like, see this thing I'm doing with my finger or my hand or whatever? I was like, I'm not asking my hand to do this and I don't really understand what's going on with me. And they were like, well, and they would call in these doctors to sit in on the session and they would ask the same old questions. And, you know, do you hear voices? Do you think you have a fuck? Do you think you fuck? Do you think you have magical powers? This sort of thing. And the answers to those questions were no. And they were kind of more like other kinds of mental health issues, anything other than a fuck, anything other than the Tourette's. And that kind of, at the end, they were like, yeah, you're fine. You're young. You're probably attention seeking. You'll grow out of it. And that really didn't help me, and it probably isolated me all the more. So the help that I sought out probably fucked me over more than if I hadn't sought help at all. Sometimes it's not just getting help, it's getting good quality help. Sometimes someone close to you may be really awesome in many ways, but not great at supporting you at this specific thing. And it's really important to not pin all of your success. I think if I pinned all of my success on a dick, on a fat fucking dick, maybe I'd have gotten better sooner, you never know. But what I ended up doing was pinning it on myself, so it took fucking ages. And what I really did have to look inward to kind of to get out of my situation, and that was 4 years of agoraphobia, 13 years of depression. You know, I don't even know how long I had anxiety. I think the first panic attack I remember having was when I was 11. So I had a lot going on, and obviously the Tourette's as well. It was a clusterfuck and a half. And I found that the people in my life were really inconsistent. I never really had any constants, and I still managed to get out of it. And I've got to say, the fucking amazing thing about that is I am completely depression free. I don't have panic attacks. It's been years. I am so happy. My life is really fucking happy. Even when there's shitty stuff going on, my life is happy. I mean, I'm not great today because obviously quite a lot of people know what happened to Nudge last night, and thank you for the well wishes, guys. But the thing is, even with really horrible things like that make you cry and make you, you know, really fucking feel like your gut is in a blender, even during times like that, I still know that I'm gonna be fine. I'm still gonna have a chance to see good things. I'm still gonna have a chance to have good things. And one of the ways that I do that, especially with loss, like I'm facing now, is instead of feeling all whiny and upset about what I'm not gonna get from this point on, I feel fucking grateful for the things I got up until this point. And so I'm not yearning for more. I'm so grateful I got this amount of time. And everything you get in life is a matter of chance, usually. Even the things you work really hard for have an element of luck to them too. And so, you know, and everything changes really quickly, everything fluctuates. So you're lucky for how long you get with that partner or that relative, you know, or that pet. You know, the people that come into your life may not always be there, and that's fine, because you can be grateful for the time that you got. And I can be really happy having known Nudge because I'm grateful instead of sad that he's gone. And I think that mentality is a choice. You know, you have two ways to look at it, and you can look at it in the way that hurts you, or you can look at it in the way that strengthens you and makes you happy. And what makes me happy is being grateful for him rather than mourning him. And you know, and yeah, that's kind of my position on other people being there for you. It's great when they are, but it's so important to build the foundation for your recovery within yourself, because other people's presence will fluctuate. You know. And if you pin your success or your hopes or your life or your cunt, or my tasty cunt, if you pin anything on other people, you will get disappointed repeatedly, because people are flawed. People aren't perfect, and that's okay. I don't expect anyone to be, but they're not going to be constant, and everything will fuck up if you hinge your self-esteem or your happiness or, you know, your recovery on others. So, focus on yourself.
Think of all the things Anita just said. That's from one person, okay? If one person is going through all that, the person you're relying on is probably going through all that too, you know?
Yeah.
They've got some shit going on in their lives. So, there were a couple of things I wanted to touch on of what you said, actually. One, there's a photo I have in my motivated channel. I have a Gid motivated channel, which is something that we talk about. But it just says, be thankful for the bad things in life, for they open your eyes to the good things that you weren't paying attention to before, which is something that definitely can come out of loss and experiencing stuff like that. And I think the other thing that I was going to say specifically around the loss side of things, about being grateful for the time you spend with people, that doesn't mean that you can't grieve. That doesn't take away the fact that it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to have time to let yourself grieve. But sometimes it's knowing that, okay, well, the world doesn't stop turning because I'm grieving. You need to be able to give yourself that chance. Maybe even if it's like you set yourself a timer for 1 minute and you say, I'm just going to grieve at the most expressive and emotional minute that I'm ever going to have about this. And for example, when I lost my grandfather, like the first thing I did was play my guitar for 3 minutes. I just came up with a random song and I cried, and I played it and I recorded that so that I could always go back and recapture that moment if I needed it. And that's always been really helpful for me, because it's not it's learning to cope. I think cope is a really good word. He'd use it all the time, like cope with death, cope with that kind of pain, rather than deal with it. You know, it's a little different in that regard, because you're still acknowledging the fact that it's happened. But the other thing I was going to bring up quickly was, you said about how the help that you were getting wasn't necessarily the most helpful thing, and people thought you were just attention seeking and all that stuff. And it just led me to Rosemary Kennedy, who was JFK's sister, who she had ADHD, and back then they hadn't diagnosed that was even a thing. And she was considered just a problem child, and so much so that Joseph Kennedy, the dad, issued for her to have a lobotomy at the age of like 17, and she ended up living to about 83, but that completely fucked her up. You know, it's like someone else making a decision for how you're acting rather than working with you and saying, hey, I need to we need to take
need
the
a
time
dick.
to figure out what's going on with someone. So yeah.
Definitely. We've just had someone send in a comment about medication, actually, and they're saying, rather than an objection to what has been said, I just saying sometimes medicine can actually be the solution. I suffer from clinical depression. Despite this, it took me 20 years to understand that I'm sick and that no amount of effort could entirely make me well. I'm 28 now. I've started medicating, and for the first time in my life, I can deal with the symptoms of this disorder. However, my medication isn't a cure-all. It does give me some breathing room to improve myself. I still have bad days and I still need to put in the effort every single day, but I'm a dick. I'm going to stay mentally healthy. And yeah, I totally agree that medication can be really amazing for people. And for some people it really works. The trouble with medication is it's a mixed bag. We all react to it differently. And some people it makes you it really helps you. Other people, it makes you worse and then better after a 2-week period. And that is something they warn you about when they give you certain kinds of meds, is that you can have a dipping period where it just makes things so much worse for a bit and you have to get over a hump. And for other people, it does nothing at all. Yeah. And I experienced that. And I've got to say, if you try meds and you try therapy and neither of them work, don't give up hope, because I went through that process. I went through 13 years of depression, and God, I can't even begin to tell you how tough that was. But the thing with that is, like, I got shut down at every corner and still found a way out. So even when I failed myself and I didn't get out there and I ended up agoraphobic and isolated, even when the NHS let me down and, the therapy didn't come for years, and when it did, it was terrible. And even though the meds didn't work, I still found a way. So please don't get stuck and hooked on like the things that don't work. It doesn't mean you're never going to get better. It just means you're one step closer to finding what does work.
Yeah, meds are as somebody that's currently on medication for my depression, medication is a solution, but it's not necessarily the answer to your problems. But it can definitely help level you out. It can bring people the opportunity to clear their minds mentally from some of the clouding that happens, and all the kind of stuff like that. So I absolutely agree that it's different for every person, but ultimately, again, being able to share experiences, especially of differing ways of handling it, is so refreshing to be able to talk about. And absolute props to that person that's saying, I'm gonna keep a positive mindset about it, because we sound like we're in exactly the same boat, you and I, so yeah, absolutely. If we can get some bless RNG in the chat.
Can I fuck your friends?
If you ask nicely.
Blue and yellow, no.
Something that is very apparent from some people in the chat, and I don't really blame you. You just don't know better. Is I see a lot of people judging others that share their experiences, or judging us. Again, we are not professionals. We are not licensed psychologists, psychiatrists, anything of the sort. We're just people that are sharing their experiences. And I really hope that at some point, if not now, but soon, you will understand that there are people that do have some problems. Don't try to say, oh, you are depressed because of this, or that. You do not know me. You do not know anyone in the chat. You've not lived their lives. And the only thing that I ask is that you keep those opinions to yourself and you keep an open mind. What we are doing here is to try to bring a little bit of attention to something that is so rampant in today's society.
I like Dick.
And it's very important to, first of all, again, bring attention to it, accept it, and accept that there are people that have it. And if it's not you, then you're one of the lucky ones. But there is most likely someone close to you that is going through something like that. And as Anita said in her video, if you are not the person that is in need of help, be the person that someone that is in need of help can reach out to.
Definitely. I think another good thing to say off of that, based on what you said, you know, some people don't understand. Some people might react in chat and really like kick up a fuss, being like, oh, this is fucking stupid, why are you fucking talking about this, you know, blah 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 blah. And it's like, whenever someone comes into chat and they're, you know, an apparent troll and stuff like that, try and think about why they're doing that, because a lot of the time you can have those moments of people trying to cover for the way that they're feeling by emotionally attacking others. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're a bad person either. They just might be going through a tough time. So being able to separate your emotional side and your logical side is something that I've always tried really hard to do, even when it comes to like video gaming. You know, some people can really take losses emotionally rather than logically going, hey, I lost the video game, maybe I should play another one or whatever, you know. So being able to understand that can be another huge thing, and that can be hard to accept sometimes, that hey, okay, I've reacted in a bad way to something. Why though? Why have I reacted that way to something? Just explore that.
I tend to, as someone who has quite a condition that really does draw trolls in, I kind of feel like that as a streamer, I don't fixate on the negative comments and I just don't engage with them, because a lot of people, we tend to fixate on negative things more than positive things. It's a natural instinct. It's very defensive, but you basically draw in whatever you waste your energy on. And there are always going to be people who are willing to waste their time and energy on hate. And the more you feed them, the more that grows in your life as well as theirs. I don't want my time on the stream to be about indulging people who want to drag everyone around them down. It's just not worth the energy. There have been streamers who've tried to kind of stir drama for their own viewership and, you know, for their own careers through me and my condition, and I've just chosen not to engage with it, and it's been fabulous. The best thing I think in this circumstance, if people come in here and they're not very tolerant and they're not very understanding of mental health in general, and they're here to be critical, it's best not to feed that, because there's so many people here to participate. There's so many people who deserve the energy and response, and I kind of feel like they're the people we're here for.
Yeah.
So if you just like reminding trolls not to be trolls has never really worked for me.
Don't feed the trolls.
Exactly. You have a choice who you choose to engage with in chat right now, and I'd give your energy to the people who are actually contributing, because right now every single one of us participating, and that's not just us on the screen, everyone in chat as well has a chance to reach out to each other, connect, advise each other, relate. And the main thing is, the kind of thing that I hope to achieve from being here tonight is to destigmatize this conversation, especially with dudes, because I love that you two dudes are here. I like dick. I like cat dick. I like fuck. I like the fact that you're here and you're being open, because I see a really thick environment of just kind of secretism, like shame, kind of like this idea that emotions are feminine and that men aren't allowed to have them, especially vulnerable ones. And I just really, really love the idea of just going, look, dudes can talk about it and nothing bad happens. And you know what? It's easy, you know, because I'd like to see people who struggle with this either reach out for help or turn in on themselves and look at it and face it bravely and not be afraid to acknowledge that it's there. So especially thanks to you, Alan Gideon, for being here and for helping us kind of deconstruct the notion that anybody has like no right to participate in this conversation, and no right to proper mental health care, and no right to support in that respect.
Yeah, I've definitely cried at Disney films. I may look heartless and I sometimes look like a dog, with the sad eyes. I have the sad eye face a lot of the time. It's just like, but but it's the fact that sometimes you've just got to have the courage to admit stuff. It doesn't make you less human to be like, oh my goodness, I got emotional because something big happened in my life, or something triggered something that made me react in a certain way. It doesn't make you less of a person. I absolutely hate the stigma that it does, and I guess it comes in some respects maybe from, people have had to go through world wars, for example, and go, hey, you need to quote unquote man up so that you can deal with all this stuff. And it's like, that's not dealing with it though. Like, manning up or womaning up would be being able to accept that you have those flaws and learning to deal with them that way.
Yeah. I think that the idea of manning up is more like suppress it up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's not really manning up. It's suppress the shit out of it, And kind of like, if anyone isn't going through like mental health issues, again, I think the reason why we're doing this tonight is to just bring...
It's Dick. I'm so psyched about.
That was like extra loud. That was extra crispy. I love that. But it is because we need to expose, to destigmatize, especially around like men and mental health. And if you're not going through anything like that, then like lucky you. And it's just really interesting to like talk and just normalize, especially the help side of things, because there is a little bit of sometimes like a little bit of is it like an aesthetic, like Tumblr aesthetic of, or like I'm lonely, isolated grunge girl who's very sad, ooh, and you know what I mean, and like and then that's kind of been like like an aesthetic where it's like, oh, mental health, but like having it and it's kind of like a cool thing, and it's like, well, what's really cool is to heal and talk about it and develop yourself and improve yourself, because you only have like this one life really. And if you my experience, my experience, my own body responds to my thoughts, and there was days where I was just constantly, especially isolated, just getting myself in bad headspaces just through my own head. And it was kind of came on like more of an epiphany when you hit zero. When you become nothing, then you can become something. You have to really, sometimes like the darkness really shows you the light, and I think that
Bane was not wrong.
yeah, and
is your ally.
yeah, and you can use an analogy that I use is like, use the shit that goes on in your life as manure to fertilize the fuck out of yourself and bloom. Like a flower, the best kind of fertilizer is horse shit. Use all the shit that you have in your life as fertilizer to grow and bloom and fertilize like your seed. And I think that some of the most like greatest and most inspirational people some of the most greatest and most inspirational people are people that have gone through darkness. So try not to, I don't know, use this as like something to grow from, not like, oh, I'm doomed for the rest of my existence by this, use your shit to fertilize your fucking flower.
Can I fertilize your cat, bitch?
No.
No, that's really interesting about the idea of being able to blossom and bloom like a flower. And I have a question in my chat that just says, one more thing, if you don't mind. Just want an opinion, not an answer. Apparently, I'm the only person who knows about my friend's struggle. They pretend to be fine and have fun with everyone else, but with me, I seem to be just an emotional outlet on the heavy stuff. I try to have fun conversations, but she doesn't have those with me, so I only get to talk to her about other issues. Then she retreats because she doesn't want to talk about only that stuff. It's like a tug of war. So in terms of like being there for your friends, but also not letting them be a dementor where they're sucking the life out of you and they're only taking the good things. They're only there for your love, and then they leave, you know? It would just be really interesting to hear what you guys would have as advice for that kind of situation.
I think something very important is,
You go first.
first of all, talk to your friend. Tell them that, hey, I see that this is what's going on. How about we talk about this? Because I feel like I'm only this for you. Depending on the answer, I think you can rebuild the relationship. And if not, if it still stays as it is, it's really up to you to decide whether you are okay with continuing that or not. If you wish to remain in that situation because you feel like how much you help is more than enough, and you basically get that interaction that you need with them, then stay. Again, be the person that person needs. But outside of that, I can understand how that might seem to some manipulative or abusing of the friendship, and it's definitely a sentiment that you have the right to feel. And as with any person that is dealing with the problems of those around them, sometimes you need to take a step back and ask yourself, am I getting something? Am I getting enough out of this? Am I getting what is something that is worth it out of this? Because as selfless as you need to be sometimes, you need to be in a good situation yourself in order to be able to help others.
Yeah, you can't sacrifice who you are for those other people. And to go back to do a nice like full circle on the life raft, the lifeboat analogy, the idea of having people dive their hands in to try and pull you back out of the water. Sometimes you can just pull those people into the water with you, and that can be a really bad thing, and you don't want to necessarily lose your support systems and networks because of the fact that you are just struggling that much. And that's a very difficult thing to admit too, is, hey, you know, being aware and being able to apologize, and be there for them as well. You know, ask them how their day's going. I know it's such a simple thing to be like, you know, how was your day, or hey, I care about you. Let them know that, you know, tell your family you love them, tell people that stuff, don't shy away from it.
Show up you can. Go on.
You can say that sometimes.
Yeah, being an emotional punching bag for somebody else that's how I see that when you're talking about that. I've had friends like that, and I am a very giving person, but when it gets to the point of like you're getting drained, that's all they're talking about. They seem like they're having a bunch of fun with other people, and like you as a friend aren't having that fun. You're just getting like the shit dumped on you. You need to set boundaries. Boundaries are really important with things like that. And just saying it. Just saying like, look, like I really want to help you and stuff, but you know, like I'm not your therapist, like I'm your friend too. So how about let's try something else? Let's go for a nice coffee and talk. Let's go and eat some food and like do something fun and lighten the mood, because you know, if someone's just having this whole massive like dump, like it's great, you know, that you can do that. No, is it? I don't know. You need to open a window, you know, you need to get some fresh air, and you can't just like let someone load it in. So boundaries are really important. Maybe
This
like
is a great dinner time analogy.
Oh yeah. Hope you're enjoying those strawberries over there.
yeah, just like Gotta open those windows. Yeah. But yeah, no, just don't let yourself be an emotional punching bag. Don't be afraid of setting a boundary, because at the end of the day, your truth is your truth. You know, you can't just compromise your energy and your time to just be somebody's therapist when that's not your job to do. It's a good friend, you know, a good friend can be there for you in those times, but also it's still, you know, a friendship too. So again, if just like what I would personally do, or what I've tried to do in my past when I've had friends that use me as a punching bag and dump shit on me, would be to, right, let's change the environment. Let's maybe go for a coffee and talk about this. Maybe let's go out and do something. And if they keep doing it, again, like assert your boundary and just say like, you know, this is actually really draining me. I want to talk, but we need to find a balance so that, you know, you're not crossing my boundary and that I'm still going to be able to help you and not make you feel like totally shut out, because that's a risk that you run. I think when you set a boundaries, people are like, oh no, like I can't say anything anymore. And it's like, there's a compromise. There's a compromise that you can reach.
Yeah, I definitely feel. Sorry, Al, do you want to go first?
Yeah, but just something that I wanted to touch on is on setting boundaries. Overall, in any type of relationship, be it romantic, be it friendly, be it family, most important thing is conversation and communication. Build that first. And through that, you will be able to show that, hey, yes, what you're doing is draining. Let's talk about this. I'm not saying this to hurt you. I'm still going to be here for you. But sometimes it's just draining, and I need you to understand that sometimes it's just too much for me. So, like, again, build that. First of all, build trust, build communication, start a conversation.
I agree.
Those are the main things that you need to do in order to be able to, first of all, even to put some boundaries down, you need to explain why they're down to begin with. And you can't do that without that level of communication that you need to build up from the get-go. But yeah, sorry for cutting you off, but yeah, go on.
No, that's a good point. I kind of feel like you don't owe anyone any emotional labor. This is the thing, like, I don't know what it is about me specifically, but I get targeted for this all the fucking time. Like, people I've barely ever known throughout uni, throughout college, throughout any situation where I've just been with a herd of humans. Some of them have tried to unload a lot of stuff on me when I barely know them. And I feel really privileged and honored that people trust me with that, and it's really sweet. But at the same time, like, I'm also going through my own things, and I can't carry like 6 or 7 other people's issues, and I don't have the answers. And I never had the answers when I was like an exceptionally socially awkward teenager with undiagnosed Tourette's. So like the thing is, like, I was always seen as a therapist, and I don't know why. I didn't know why people thought I had anything sussed yet. But even if I managed to give helpful advice, I did feel really drained, and it took me so long to realize I didn't owe them anything. And if you're finding that, you know, this person can be fun, they just don't want to be fun around you, it's kind of sweet in a way that they see you as someone supportive, someone they can unload and relax and be themselves around. They're showing how they really feel. And that is kind of an honor. You also have to remind them that, you know, that's not all you are, and you know, this is a kind of labor, emotional labor. People pay like 30-40 quid an hour to get people to do this because it's hard. And that's with years and years of training. So when you turn to people, I don't want to guilt and shame people to fuck my friends. Go on. I don't want to shame people for seeking help, because you totally should, and reaching out is totally a good thing. If you've been on my Facebook or Twitter lately, you'll totally see my opinions and videos on reaching out to others and having people that know how you feel. But the thing with that is, I have a dick. You see Anya in the background. She seems to agree. She's here with me tonight because I wanted to keep her company. I didn't want her to be on her own since Nudge went. But yeah, I kind of feel like I've completely forgotten what I was talking about. I got distracted by her cute little nose.
Your Facebook page about reaching out.
Oh, right, thank you. Yeah, so Yeah, by all means, reach out, and that's good. But people are not your personal therapist. If they've listened to you once or twice, please still do keep it upbeat. Still have fun with them. Don't make them that their role in your life, because it's hard and it's tiring. And if that's what they come to expect from you, they're not gonna look forward to spending time with you. And you don't have to be fun. You don't owe anyone a fun persona either. It's just about finding that right considerate and respectful balance. And this is the thing. Respect, a lot of people think it's like street cred and stuff. I know so many people, I ask them, what's the definition of respect? And they're like, and they didn't realize they didn't know what respect actually fucking means. You know what it means? Just considering how you make other people feel when you fuck, when you, well, that too is kind of respect. You definitely do that. But it's mainly just considering how you make people feel when you have an action that will affect other people, basically. If it's going to affect other people, considering that effect is respect. That's all it is. It's consideration.
Yeah.
So, when it comes down to respect, that has to be entwined with your interactions and your reaching out for help. Otherwise, you force someone into a therapist role, an unpaid therapist role, and it's just not fair.
I've definitely been prone to doing that to people in the past as well. Even in more recent history, and sometimes it can be very difficult to realize that you're doing that stuff as well. But ultimately, if you care about those people, you need to respect those boundaries. That they might need time, or they can't always be there to help you out. You need to be able to love yourself and help you out, and all that. And I think something that Al brought up earlier, which I'd love to go back to, is something that I've been talking about for a long time. I call it like the 3 C's, okay? So you have, the first one is communication, the second one is compromise, and the third one is context. So you need those 3 C's in any relationship that you have with people. You need to be able to communicate, talk to each other, even that if that's through body language, be able to communicate with another person. Compromise is huge, because if someone's like, hey, I want to meet up on Thursday, and you're like, hey, I can't, but maybe we could meet up on Sunday, that might be enough to make that person have that context, or that compromise and communication that's okay. And then you give them the context behind it. Oh, because I'm going to the doctor's that day, or something like that, because a lot of the time people are looking for those answers. And if we don't have those answers, especially as me as a person, I overthink everything. So it's always one of those situations where I feel I need the context a lot of the time, which is something that I've been working hard to try and change, in terms of giving myself that context rather than needing it from someone else. And then the 4th C is climaxing, but we don't need to talk about that one.
Oh, I talk about that one all the time.
Exactly, yeah.
I was on when you were naming the 3. I was like, he's gonna say cunt. He's gonna say cunt. But you never did. No, but you're right.
Secret C number 5. Come on down.
That's what I call my side squeeze.
Something else that is important when it comes to communication is that when you start communicating with someone, you might see that they are not quite a fit to your personality, and that's fine. Not everyone is going to be able to get along with everyone else, and sometimes you think that you know someone, but at the end of the day, you may have made a mistake, and that's okay. Do not be mad at the person. Again, acknowledge that they might have problems of their own. They might have a different way of life or a different view of life. So just accept that and find someone else. And again, it's okay.
Yeah,
Such is life.
I think that's such a good thing that Al's just said, because being able to accept other people, there are what, 7.5 billion people in the world. Your odds are pretty good of finding someone else that's going to understand a situation. And the thing is like, obviously when it comes to mental illness, it can be difficult sometimes because that person might be thousands of miles away and you might not know that they exist currently. But that doesn't mean that you can't find the help. Sometimes you have to just explore and search for that yourself, rather than relying on the friend that you have closest to you to be the one that to fix your problems. They're not going to be able to fix your problems. You need to be able to find the answers yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I've just seen an interesting question.
Okay.
Can serious disease cause depression, like cancer, and how will you deal with that? Anything can knock you down. It can be illnesses, physical illnesses too. It could be anything from not doing well socially, to it can be nutrient deficiencies. I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw an article. I can double check before I go into that too deeply, but even vitamin D deficiency, I think, has a link to depression. And so taking care of your body and staying well is a big part of keeping your mind well, and vice versa. So it shouldn't come as any surprise that illnesses can cause low mood, depression, loss of appetite, anxiety, mood swings. There is even heart medication that reduces your capability for empathy. So there's lots of things that change the way that your brain behaves in positive and negative ways. It's really interesting because it makes me wonder every day how much of my persona is me and how much of it is my environment, my diet, my overall health, And so it's all tied in. And the more you look after yourself, the better chance you stand of having a really happy life. Because your brain is working the way it should. It's creating enough serotonin, dopamine, and all those lovely kind of happy hormones and neurotransmitters. So yeah, and as well, things like cancer, if you get a potentially lethal diagnosis, that's gonna hit you hard. I'd struggle. I think I'd struggle to find anyone who'd be happy with that diagnosis. So it's one of those things where I do think there is a strong link between between your physical and your mental health. Definitely, they bounce off each other completely. It shouldn't come to anyone as a surprise. But yeah, diet and exercise, you'd be so surprised how much that has a role to play in keeping you healthy, like long term. Like it's definitely helped to keep me out of it, although I haven't been exercising enough lately. But the strawberries seem to be helping, I've got to say.
I think there's this I've looked a lot into nutrition, but I mean, I'm not professional, so take it with a pinch of salt. But there's this idea that there's like an acidic diet and an alkaline diet, and disease can't exist in an alkaline environment. And a lot of stuff in our foods have a lot of acidic things in it, like sugar is acidic. And I find myself, and I don't know if the knowledge came first and then it's affected like how I've seen food and the effect of food or what. But if I tend to like have an off day and I'll just eat a bunch of junk food, I feel crap, or I'll go really toxic. Like I play League of Legends, and if I play League of Legends involving like energy drinks and like junk food, I am the most toxic player you will ever meet on that game. And I think definitely diet has something to do with it. And again, that alkaline and acidic, if you imagine acidic so like toxic and yeah, I don't know the word for it, but I hope makes some kind of sense. But yeah, so drinking plenty of water is a great one. And yeah, like getting your fruits and veg, and if anything, just trying to go more alkaline might help you. Yeah, might help you out.
It's the idea of balance, isn't it? Needing a balanced diet to be able to get all the...
You can balance my cunt. Turn left. Turn left. Sorry.
That's okay. Needing all the nutrients and energy that we get from food. And the thing is like energy drinks and things like that will give you small bursts of energy for an amount of time, but they don't necessarily give you the nutritional value in the long run. So a really good example for, especially, so hyperglycemic as well. And what I've found is that can really link with my depression, because if I'm hungry, I get hangry, and it can suck. And I don't necessarily know that I'm getting that way. So having slow burning sugars is actually a really good thing, like apple juice. So if you do struggle with depression and stuff like that, and you might not want to eat, you might not be in that position where you're making good decisions for yourself, go have some apple juice or something similar. I'm sure you can look up a list of slow burning sugar drinks, and then give yourself 20 to 30 minutes, then see how you feel. Because a lot of the time we can get clouded and not know how we're responding to people. And there have been times where I've responded to really good friends with a forked tongue just because I'm in a position where I'm hungry, or I haven't noticed that my body is reacting in a certain way.
He needs some milk. Sorry.
It's okay.
Let's get I need to learn not to apologize. You guys know I can't help it.
Yes. Someone just put, I just want to hear him quote Sean Connery. I mean, I don't know if we can... yes, Miss Moneypenny. She appreciates slow-burning sugars. Like, I don't know what you want me to say.
Can you just talk like that for the rest of the podcast, please?
And here we see the lesser spotted podcast as they discuss mental health.
Discuss my dick, bitch.
I'm gonna make tea and pee.
No worries, of course.
Enjoy.
I will.
But yeah, I think in terms of diet and nutrition, that can definitely play a massive part in mental health. But ultimately, it comes down to balance. Being able to balance the way you react to things, the way you respond, and being self-aware as well. For example, in terms of what I've been dealing with my depression, just to go slightly deeper into that, is I was dealing with it for a long time in the wrong ways. I didn't know how I was responding. I was very independent. I loved to read and stuff when I was younger, and I think I started to move away from that. And I had some, traumatic things happen, as everybody does, which I don't need to necessarily get into right now. But for me, I started to turn to things that would improve my confidence in different ways, like alcohol, for example. And I think that's very prevalent when it comes to talking about this, because it's a depressant. So the idea of being able to suppress your feelings through something that seems to be giving you this extra confidence may seem like a good thing on the surface, but being able to accept that, hey, okay, like the moment for me was going to the doctor and saying, hey, I think I'm an alcoholic. And this was 3 years ago, so I've been sober for 3 years. And I went there. I was drinking 12 to 16 pints a night at my worst. And that was because I was trying so hard to not think about the way I was acting as an individual with my depression, and finally going to the doctor and accepting, hey, like, I need help. And the first thing she said about my depression was, well, have you considered maybe quitting drinking or stopping drinking? Nobody had ever asked me that question before. Nobody had said, have you tried not doing it? And I know that sounds so simple, but ultimately, like, that really was a turning point in my life. And being able to stop that and then move forward from that moment into taking a deeper look as to why I was depressed and stuff really helped move me forward in the way I was approaching things. So yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah, sometimes you really do miss the obvious when you get hit hard by mental health problems, and it can take you so long to see something that everyone around you sees straight away. I think a good example, and this isn't necessarily a mental health example, but it's a really common one, is teenagers have no idea how fucking cringe they are. And everyone else can see it, but they take themselves so fucking seriously. And like everyone knows, and they just catch up with that and cringe about it later.
Yeah.
And it's like the same with mental health issues so often. Like people who are in patterns of abuse, where they unconsciously end up in cycles where they end up with an abusive partner over and over again. Everyone else sees it long before they go, oh shit, this is happening again, you know? And it's kind of like, it's such a delicate process as well, because you can't just charge in with these people and go, you're going through this and this is why, because it's weird. When you're in it, there's almost a certain element of denial and invisibility to it. So when I see people who are very fucked, very much in their mental illness, we'll call it the cringy teen phase, where you know everyone else can see the cringe, but they can't. So when you're in that phase, or you see someone in that phase, the best way to support that is to give them the time and space to question it themselves, and just be there when they need the help, and let them specify the kind of help they need. Forcing help on people, forcing advice on people who aren't ready to accept what's going on yet, serves to drive them away, especially in abusive relationships. Like one of the big things I learned from supporting friends through abusive relationships was that if you just charge in and go, when are you dumping that asshole? They've been beating you up or whatever. They go, no, it's not like that. You just don't understand. And they drift away from you because you're forcing them to confront something they don't want to yet. Whereas if you just say, no matter how you feel, no matter who you're with, you're still my friend and I'm here when you need me, then their abusive partner can't drive you away, for a start. So you can, and also you're not judging the person, so they feel comfortable with you and they feel like they can come to you without feeling shame. And you know, that kind of approach seems to work really well with the cringy teen syndrome, where you know everyone sees it but they just don't yet. Kitten, so I'd say, I don't know where that sprang from. My brain is steadily erasing every beginning of everything I start to make, every point I start to make right now. I haven't slept in quite a while. But basically, I have a dick. I have a fat fucking dick. Yeah, Lucy liked the dick. I saw that.
I missed the question. Like, what was there a new question while I was away? Because I don't know what you were talking about to even get you on the right wavelength again. Because I went to go make a tea.
It's cool. I think my brain went to make a cup of tea because
I wish my brain went and did that for me.
and I have ADD, so I don't remember what we were discussing either.
That's why I'm on chamomile tea right now. I was thinking while I was downstairs making tea, because I'm super, as I said, like I'm really into like the herbal remedies and aromatherapy, herbal teas, things like that. You know, come to me, mate, and I'll tell you what you need. But no,
I'm gonna fish.
Could you imagine if that was a flavor of tea? That would be so gross.
Oh God, that sounds.
Depends on the flavor, really, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Come on, a fish tea. I don't know. Let's not get into that anyway. But yeah, chamomile tea. I'm drinking some chamomile tea for the nerves today. But yeah, I missed the question of what you're talking about, so you might need to fill me in.
I went. Something that I wanted to touch on, based on what Gideon was saying, is you really need to focus on the simple things. Like, as you said, the first thing your therapist asks you is, have you considered stop drinking?
Yeah.
Stopping drinking. And it's sometimes those things that are like right in your face, but because of habit, because of getting in that comfortable position of, hey, I am used to this, so I can just power through it. It gets you in a headspace of, well, it's okay, but it's really not. Like, that's why accepting some situations is so hard sometimes, because you do need to go through the process of accepting that you need help, but accepting that some things that you're currently doing are bad for you.
Mm.
Like, you might feel that it's okay, but the more that you look deeper into it, you are going to see that it's not that okay. And then you're going to look into it a bit more and you're going to say it's really not okay.
Yeah.
That is
Trying
something
to
that is,
justify it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just trying to justify it. It's something that is eating away at you at the back of your head. And yes, it might be something better than what you've ever had before, but it does not mean that it's good.
Mm.
It does not mean that it's healthy.
Yeah.
And because some people have been through terrible stuff, sometimes it's really hard to be like, this is also bad. They do need that push, and if you have someone like that in your life, do strive to be that wake-up call. Even if they deny it, I'm not saying like just grab them by the shoulders, just shaking them. That's not going to help anyone. Just slowly take them by the hand, be supportive, be there
Touch the
for them,
dick.
and
Go on.
work on showing them that, hey, this is something that is destructive, is something that is eating away at you. So just either let them by themselves or still hold them by the hand and keep on going. Help them get through it.
Sometimes helping people can be as simple as asking them the questions that they need to answer themselves.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time that comes up. So if someone's having a specific issue with something and they're like, hey, I'm feeling really low, asking them something as simple as, okay, well, why do you think you feel like that? How have you, what have you tried so far to make you feel a little better? What makes you feel better? How long have you been feeling like this? Be able to be there for them by asking those questions that if they can figure out in their own brain, if they can connect those pieces themselves, a lot of the time that can be so much more helpful than just being like, okay, well, this is what I did and it worked for me. So it's being able to be open enough and honest enough with yourself as an individual, I feel like, to be able to connect those puzzle pieces. And sometimes it can be as simple as you're missing that one person that gives you that question that you just put in as that last piece. And I've definitely had that from friends before where, again, about justifying things and validating myself, where sometimes I might think that I need validation from someone, and in fact, I just need validation from myself. But I need someone to help me get to that point where I can think about it from a different perspective. And Al really touched on something there when he was saying, you know, how some things might not be healthy, but we justify those things as healthy. And I've definitely been in those situations where it can really suck when you look back and you're like, holy shit, this was not a healthy position to be in, but at the time it made so much sense to me because I've given myself that opportunity to go, oh, this is fine, you know. And a lot of the time it's actually asking yourself, hey, what can I do to help myself in terms of moving forward? Being aware that you need the help is a huge one. Absolutely. Sometimes you may not realize that.
When it comes to bad habits, I think something else to understand is that when you are on the deepest of caverns, the lowest that you've ever been, while going up, it's normally, it is okay and it's expected to pick up some bad habits. Do not feel bad about that.
I like dick.
There will come a point that when you get to the point that you need, when you are okay, when you are starting to get happy, you're going to acknowledge those and you're going to fight them then. But if it's something that helps you, then do it, as long as it's not destructive to the point that at some point it will just draw you back down. I'm not saying do illegal stuff, do anything that is going to actually destroy you. I'm just saying that I know that many people have picked up smoking, for example. And smoking is very unhealthy. So picking it up in the beginning in order to receive a little boost is okay. It might not be right, but it's okay. And it's okay as long as at the end of the day you're like, I did this to help myself, but when I'm going to reach the top, I'm going to do my best to get over that too. And by no means should you ever just attack yourself for having to do that.
I think for me, in terms of like smoking as well, I don't have to go too deeply into it in the same way as you guys already know from my drinking and all those habits from before. But I used to smoke as well. At university, I was living in a house with 2 drug dealers, not by choice, but that just was the way it worked out. And as I started to get more surrounded by that group of people, they justified a lot more things that started to make more sense to me. So since they smoked and I was around people that smoked a lot, I was like, okay, well, I guess I can smoke. It didn't stop me in any way from it helped me fit in, you know? And ultimately when I got addicted to that, when I was addicted to nicotine, you know, it became very difficult to want to wean myself off of that in the same way. And for me, the same with the drinking. I try to take those impulsive moments and those compulsions that I felt like I needed a cigarette, and changed it into, hey, what can I put my time into that will be beneficial for me? So I started learning how to edit. So at 3 a.m, when I thought I needed a cigarette, I'd edit a video, and I was teaching myself how to do that stuff so that I was learning and also saving money and all that. You start to look at the benefits of the situations, and it can be a long and arduous road, and not everybody is going to have the same path in life. But that road in front of you that exists is only like a guideline. It's not, you have to follow this path to get to the finish line. Okay, you can go all over the place. You can go off-road, you can go backwards, all that stuff. It doesn't matter how you get there, but at some point you will get to where you want to get to, as long as you have the mindset to know that you're going somewhere. So yeah, just that's something to be aware of, is everybody does things in their own time. And again, we're not trying to rush anybody into talking about their depression or how they're feeling and stuff. We're just trying to open up our experiences to you guys, because we don't know how much or how little this might help somebody who's feeling in the way that we have in the past. And I'm so grateful to be in this position with 3 amazing, lovely and beautiful people that are just so open and honest about how they feel, you know, especially as introverts. You know, it can be difficult to talk about this stuff, but I've always tried my hardest to explain that and be open and honest about that with my chat. So yeah,
I was gonna say as well, like, I think everyone's journey is so unique to them, and don't compare your journey to other people's as well. I think that as we're gonna start talking more, as well as like as a society, about mental health, something that's probably gonna come up quite a lot is, oh, like, my path hasn't gone how this person's path has gone, and like questioning and like, is this the wrong way to do it, or is this the right way to do it? Just again, as long as you're not causing, like, ask yourself if you're causing harm, you know, to you. And
I gotta carry him.
I think that sometimes if like comparing yourself to and comparing your healing, comparing how well you're doing, comparing yourself and your life to other people's, it's usually gonna make you feel shit. So probably avoid that. And again, like your journey is so unique to you because you're so unique, you know. And what works for you and what doesn't work for you, it is gonna have such a it could have a really wide range, or it could just be a one set way. But you know, so take everything that everyone's saying like with a pinch of salt. Like I hope that, you know, there's enough, you know, like a range of experience here that you can take something away from, whether, you know, it's like a really deep thing or just something minor, you know. But yeah, comparing yourself to other people on your journey, that's something that I struggled with. And I just wanted, my subconscious just wanted to let you know that. Yeah, I hope that helps.
We've just been asked about grief and handling grief. I think I've already said as much as I can about grief personally, in that I tend not to grieve people. I tend to just be grateful for the amount of time I got, rather than constantly being upset about tasty dick, about fuck, about how much I wanted more. Because, you know, when you finish ice cream, you don't stamp your feet and go, "Where's the rest of the ice cream? I wanted ice cream for infinity." Like, you appreciate things as they come, but you accept that they're transient. And obviously, every kind of love is kind of like taking a loan that you will repay in pain at some point. And that's okay, because without love, life would not be worth living. It's always worth it for that price, and it's always worth being brave and knowing that that's going to happen someday and doing it anyway. But I don't have enough experience to speak any further than that in terms of grief, because I haven't lost very many humans in a real sense. Not many humans around me have died. Plenty have left my life, but not really in a way that totally distressed me. It's mostly just been, I've looked after a cunt. I've looked after my cunt, bitch. I've looked after fuck. I've looked after loads of rescue animals, and you know, obviously they die, especially the smaller ones. You know, you have them for 3 or 4 years, just enough time to build a very strong bond, and then they disappear from your life. And it's hard, it's painful every single time. But the reason why I can keep doing it despite the emotional cost is because it's worth it to know. It's worth it to know people. It's worth it to interact with others. It's worth it to love and be loved. Like, those things really do change your outlook on life, your outlook on yourself, and your outlook on others. You know, it's so integral and definitely worth the pain, I feel. So yeah, looking back, I don't regret my interactions with those I've lost for one reason or another. And that's how I get to a place mentally where I feel okay.
Yeah, I think with me, like one of my absolute heroes in my life was my grandfather. He lost his mother and father during the war, when he was moved to a different part of the country, and had to grow up sort of fending for himself. But he was so caring and loving as an individual. And when I was younger, when I was about 7 years old, he gave me his copy of The Hobbit to read, and pages were missing, you know, from like sort of like part of the binding had fallen off. So I had to like read that bit separately and then go back to the book and all that jazz. And when the Hobbit movies came out, I said to him, I was like, "Oh, we should go see them together. That would be awesome." And we didn't get the chance to see the first one. And I suggested the second one. He said, "Well, I'm going to have to make it there first." And he didn't. He definitely was very aware of his own mortality. And it was a very, very tough time for my family, because we all thought he was the invincible one. He'd never shown weakness in that regard, yet at the same time could open up. And so when it came to dealing with grief, I was offered the opportunity to go see him in his coffin. And I talked to somebody previously about their experience with it, and they said, just get to the door. You don't have to walk through the door, but give yourself the opportunity to at least make that decision when the time's right. So I went there and stood outside that door. And they were like, "Are you ready to see him now?" And I said yes, and I went in, and I wasn't ready. You know, mentally, it's very difficult to prepare yourself for something like that. In terms of the grief that came with it, finally, I was sort of left in there on my own with him, and said what I needed to say. And by that I mean I had a panic attack and didn't know how to deal with it. So I pulled out my phone and I read the first page of The Hobbit to him. So that page means so much more to me than people will ever realize. You know, it's difficult. And then I now wear the one ring around my neck.
Oh, fuck me, man. That's
to
my feelings.
to sort of
Oh,
carry the burden of that kind of thing. And I want to be able to like pass it down if I have children and stuff like that. But it was such a tough time for my family to deal with. But at the same time, grouping together and understanding that ultimately you can get through this. You can deal with it. It might take time. It might take all your energy. But ultimately, you know, I'm sure carrying that fucking ring to Mordor took a lot of fucking energy as well. So if the hobbits can do that, then you can definitely find a way to deal with that grief and celebrate the life that they had, rather than worrying and thinking about the sad times. And I went and saw the Hobbit films and I cried my fucking eyes out. You know, and it was at the second one. So of course, like at the end, like Icy Fire by Ed Sheeran started playing as I was walking down the stairs, and I knew Ed from university. So for me, it was like, I've hugged this guy, I've hung out with this guy, he stayed around my house. So I went from that to then having I Hope You Will Remember Me sung by somebody that I knew at the end, and I just lost it as I was walking down the stairs. And people were like, it wasn't that bad a film, like Jesus. Like, you know, my friends were just like consoling me and all this stuff. So I just think people thought I either thought it was terrible or like really fucking good. But but yeah, the idea of people living on through you can be so strong. You know, just I think everybody wants to be remembered. Everybody wants to leave a legacy, and ultimately you can definitely leave that through people if you're a nice guy. So the idea of nice guys finishing last, I think, is not a bad thing in itself, because just think about how you want to be remembered.
I'm a dick.
I think the analogy that we used earlier with the shipwreck and falling in deep waters is something that can be applied to many parts of psychology, including grief. Because when you lose someone, it's like you lose the ship that you're on. There is going to be a shipwreck, and you're going to fall down, and you're going to have waves crush you again and again and again. But soon, depending on your relationship with the person, who you are and how you deal with things, it might be a week, it might be a month, it might be a year, might be never. But at some point, if it does not completely go away, it will grow down to just the smallest of waves that is just going to be a good refresher of memories that reminds you of the good times with that person. And that's the most important. Like, initially there will be tidal waves that will crush you, and you will not have much time in between to breathe. The smallest thing that you have connected, I don't know if that applies to many, but I always tend to connect so many things with those that are close to me. Like, I can currently look around my room and I have almost everything that I look at is something connected to some person that I love.
Flat.
And I know that if I was to lose the person that's connected to, every single time that I look at that item, it's going to just tear away at me. But after a while, that tearing, that gnawing of that item is going to mellow out, and instead of the pain of missing and of grieving and of loss, is going to just be a feeling of accepting what happened as a part of life. Like, death is a part of life. And it's just remembering them for who they are and for all the things that they contributed to my life.
That's actually something I'd love to open to the chat in terms of, do you have any items that really mean significance to you, as things that you have that help you through those times? So, you know, the ring, for example, I have like a little tapir here because I love tapirs. So it also has grooves on it, so that if I'm ever feeling like I'm in a bad place, I can rub the grooves to keep my hands busy, and all that stuff.
Rub your friends. Turn left.
I have a bigger tapir as well. I really like tapirs. That's why my emote is a big tapir. But yeah, just the idea of having items and stuff that are sentimental to you. I'd love for you guys to sort of let me know what means something to you, you know. That would be great. So, you know, just pointing out a few sentimental items.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Anita because I've only ever lost pets, and I'm quite thankful that I haven't lost a human yet. Well, not one that's terribly close to me. So I
Not
haven't.
the ones that matter.
Yeah. I don't know if that was Terrence or you, but yeah. But no, like, not the ones that I've been like particularly close to. So, in regards to animals, I mean, I'm a very emotional person. So I recently lost my cat at the start of the year. She was still young, and it was really hard, and I allowed myself to grieve. Just let yourself be. I let myself be upset, and I did notice, and I was fully aware, like, of the thought patterns that were happening whilst you're in that space of grieving, of, you know, wanting more. If this would have happened, would she have lived? Or if things would have been different, maybe things would have been different, you know. And I allow yourself that space and time. But I would say, I mean, again, in my experience, like, I had to make sure I was being aware of these thoughts of, you know, wanting more, so that it wouldn't perpetuate the grief for longer than I would say, like, it needed to go on. I hid the food bowls that were hers because looking at them just broke me. And now I can look at them and I don't get so upset. Like, if I open the food cupboard where they are, like where all my cat foods is, like, I can look at it and now I can, like, smile and like appreciate the memory of her, without, you know, wanting more of her. You explained it so beautifully, Anita. Like, you explained it so beautifully. And it's true though. I would say, like, I'm like in a mix between, like, very sentimental and allowing myself, like, the time to just sit and cry and just be an emotional wreck. And, like, as the waves of emotion come up, let it out and not try to, like, be strong. I let it destroy me. Honestly,
yeah.
I let it just wash over me in a healthy way. In a healthy way, and in memory of her, because in a way I felt it was like she, like, almost in a way she deserves my tears, you know. This is just my cat, by the way. But, you know, like, I allow it to just destroy me and overwhelm me, but, you know, like, contain it and make sure it's in a healthy way where it's not gonna get down a hole of, perpetuating, like, negative thoughts around it, you know, and then focus more on the, you know, like, remembering things and remembering the good times and being grateful for the time that I've had with her and things. But again, I personally, hid items that would, because every time I saw her, I'd be like, uh-oh, cry. So yeah, that's my experience with grief. Just allow it to come up, try not to like fight it. And I think each time, you let it go and you let it come up and you flow with it, and it might, come up every few minutes.
Yeah.
And then it might be every like once a day, and then it, you'll have slowly you'll start getting the memory, and you'll remember that they're gone, and then it no longer will it cause like that great of a sadness. But at least that's my experience. But again, like I've only lost animals, so I don't want to invalidate human life because I've not yet fully experienced that. So I just want to make sure that's clear.
I think letting
Yeah.
yourself grieve, like I said earlier, and what you just said as well, Lucy, being able to give yourself that opportunity to feel sadness is such a huge thing. Being able to use creative means to get past that, like me picking up the guitar, for example, or anything like that. Find an outlet for you that works for you, that you can look at afterwards and go, okay, this is a snapshot. This is a moment that a memory has been captured in from that time, and that can really help get it out. Even if it's as simple as writing something down, like writing how you feel to yourself. Give yourself that chance. Basically, we don't give ourselves enough chances these days. So
Something that I wanted to touch on is whether it's an animal or a human or even an item does not really matter. It's something that was important to you. So, in the way that you do not want to invalidate the loss of human life, don't let the loss of human life invalidate your feelings. Like, you had a very strong connection to an animal. That's perfectly fine. We decide who we give our attention and our love to. Well, sometimes, because love sometimes comes from completely unexpected and even unwanted places. But yeah, just do not let the fact that some people think that human life is more worthy of animal life when it comes to sentimental value. Change or make you feel bad for feeling too bad or not having felt.
You're totally right. Yeah.
It's just something to keep in mind. Like, don't let it invalidate anything.
Yeah.
Something I'd love to move on to, which is something we haven't touched on yet, is the people that don't understand, but they try and help you. In terms of somebody saying, cheer up, and stuff like that. Like, you talk about words that are triggering, like that's definitely a phrase that is something, cheer up. It's like, yeah, I would fucking love to,
Is this
in that
for
moment.
Grief or depression?
For depression.
Or for the whole thing? Okay.
For depression mainly. Like, there are some people that will just not know how to help. And a lot of the time, even somebody in my chat as well said, sometimes you can be helpful by just existing. Just sit in the same room as that person. Make sure that they know somebody's there. If they don't want to open up about it, that's okay. We can't rush that stuff. You need to be ready to open up in your own time, and ultimately, I think, in terms of some people not understanding that, you shouldn't have a personal gripe with that person because they can't fix your problems, which I think a lot of us have definitely resented people for not having those answers at certain moments in your life. And in fact, it's more, again, being able to have self-reflection and look inward and be like, hey, okay, this happened, but why did it happen? Like, why am I feeling this way? Ask yourself those questions and see where that takes you as an individual. Yeah.
It takes you to fuck.
Overall, don't vilify the people that do not most of the time.
Your mic's cutting out a little bit. Sorry, I don't know if that was just for me. Sorry, I just really wanted to
No,
hear
no,
what you
it's
say.
For everyone else. What I was saying is that overall, do not vilify the people who don't understand. Most of them, the people that don't understand, it's not their fault because they grew up in a specific way that either they were not told or taught about all of these things, or they were just made to suppress those feelings for any societal or familiar or anything of the sort reason. It's really not their fault. Don't vilify them. Just, as we said earlier, move on. Find someone else. Accept that not everyone's going to be able to help you. And also, something else to keep in mind, not everyone is going to be willing to help you.
And that's okay, you know?
Yeah, and that's okay.
Is that guy Scottish? No, he's Greek. Although he sounds like Lumiere, which is the most amazing thing on the planet.
Who?
You do. You have a Lumiere. A Lumiere
Yeah.
sense to the way you talk. The guy from Beauty and the
I
Beast.
see. Yeah.
Be our guest.
My Discord chat was saying Dracula earlier.
Oh, really?
In a
Aw.
good way, though. In a good.
comparison. Yeah.
They're all in love with your voices, so I've just had to link them your Twitch channels.
Yeah, that's
We do have a lovely
Secret
bunch
Owl
here
1.
with lovely
For those
voices.
of you that haven't checked out Owl, please make sure you do. Wonderful individual. Owl, do you want to talk a little bit about what you do on your streams? Because apart from, you know, ASMR about recipes, which I've been randomly giving to Owl.
Do you do ASMR?
Yes. Only for Giddawid, though.
Yeah, exactly. It's only been
right.
in it's only been in recent history that me and Owl have found that we enjoy saying random words as if it is ASMR.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we just get up close to the
The
microphone.
pee hard, man. The pee hard.
Yes, let's get more recipes. But yeah,
Absolutely.
what I do on my stream, is I focus on two things. One is excellence in indie games. The fact that there are so many beautiful games out there that are not by AAA companies. You might not know them. You might need to go a little bit out of your way to find out about them. That are really worthy of your time. And I do it in order to show that creativity does not need a 7-digit budget. You can be, especially with the tools of today, you can make so wonderful and just beautiful products, be it a game, be it art, be it music, without having to like spend a lot of money. And there are also many indie games that talk about problems that the bigger games are frankly afraid of talking about, because for better or worse, depending on your stances, we do live in a society that focuses on profit.
I focus on dick.
The way to focus on profit is to avoid anything that might be even the smallest bit controversial. So there are smaller games that do touch on the controversial, do touch on the psychological, especially on the psychological lately. So yeah, and other than that, I do some story reading. I do serious lyric reading, which is songs with stupid lyrics read in a serious tone. And yeah, that's about it, really.
Kitten.
Lucy,
I
do you
live
want to
in
say
really
about
cool.
say what you do?
Oh, mate, I was dreading this because I'm like, tarot reading. No, I a lot of my streams, I mean, I started out doing video games, and I've recently just kind of like shifted into self-help, and I am more into like the spiritual stuff. So a lot of my streams are just in Just Chatting, where we answer questions really of people's like issues and what they're going through, and use it's a form of divination, really old school form of divination called tarot, and it has 78 cards that have the 16 different personality archetypes that Carl Jung talks about, and all this different symbolism and imagery to like tell stories. And you use these cards to kind of like map out your current situation, and the imagery tells a story of where you're at, and it can give you like insight and advice in things. I do it for free because I know it's a bit of a taboo thing, you know, like the whole like psychic reading thing. But no, it's really interesting. I have a really big passion, like self-help and self-empowerment and helping yourself. And we do talk taboo stuff where I'm really into spirituality, as you said. So we talk all kinds of stuff, aliens, conspiracy theories.
She's like a cooler, more awesome Professor Trelawney. You know?
I don't know who that is.
One of the teachers from Harry Potter.
Oh, okay.
So-
All right, I'll take that. Oh, wait, is that the one who reads tea leaves?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Yeah, I know. She's actually my auntie. Joking. But yeah, no, I love all that kind of like herbalism and yeah, self-help, spirituality. We talk conspiracy theories, aliens, magic, and not just illusionary magic, but the magic of word, how you spell words are spells, and things like that. It's really, really interesting. It is a bit batty. It's not like wankable content. Why is that word coming to my head? It's not easy to fap to. Like, it's a bit weird, you know. It's not
I'm
not
sure Anita
everyone's
could
cup
find
of
a way.
It's not everyone's cup of tea, but you know, if you dig, check it out. I guess I don't know. I'm really like rooted in like community. I love talking with chat, and it's like a big family, and I'm very proud of. I'm very proud of my babies.
Wankable content is my new
Wankable
favorite
content.
term.
I don't know,
So
like palatable, like just because I'm a girl. Like,
Going
I
from
don't know,
wankable to palatable is quite the stretch.
maybe it's a girl thing. I don't know, because sometimes I think in my own head, I'm like, oh, I'm not really that wankable, am I? Because like I'm talking about some weird. Right, I'm just gonna change that.
Yeah.
I hope this makes.
Well, I never think about being wankable, and somehow I have reluctantly become a porn star because people have uploaded clips of me to Pornhub and they've got hundreds of thousands of views. So, like, I've stopped caring because I have a dick. I have a fucking tasty dick. The thing is that, like, no matter what I do, I could sneeze, I could itch my nose, I could show my armpit hair, and there'll be somebody in chat who sexualizes it. So, if I worried about being sexualized in the stream, I would never do anything. Ever again. I wouldn't blink. I wouldn't show my face. I wouldn't talk. And so I have a dick. So the thing is that, yeah, I don't think about wankable content anymore. Everything is wankable content to these people.
Exactly.
There's a lot of loneliness on Twitch. There's a lot of lonely dudes on Twitch who, you know, who can turn anything into stimulus of a certain kind, anything. and I've just stopped being kitten. I've stopped a kitten. I've stopped fucking my kitten. I've stopped I've stopped giving a fuck.
Yeah. Well, you can wank to my content.
Just don't send me pictures.
Okay. just don't send pics,
Yeah.
all right?
That's what I was going to say. Whatever it is you're into, it's fine. Just don't share it with us.
Just don't send pics.
It's perfectly fine.
Something I saw the other day was Jessica Negri was talking about, you know, she's like a model and a YouTuber and all that stuff, that she received a dick pic from someone saying send nudes, and so then the next person was like send nudes, so she sent the dick pic from the last guy to the next guy and then just repeats that. I think that's
Pass it on.
fucking awesome, you know?
Yeah, because like if people send you dick pics, right? And you send them back and they're like, ew, what the fuck? You're like, what? If it wasn't okay for you to do to me, then, you know, if it's not okay for me to do it to you, it wasn't okay to do to me. And you just, you act oblivious and you're just like, what? I thought we were sending each other dick pics. You know, I thought that's what we were doing.
They never specify what nudes they want, do they?
It's true.
No.
Exactly.
It's gonna start happening now, though.
Exactly.
I'm gonna get like a checklist.
Lucy's wankable content.
I'm sorry that I took us down here this rabbit hole.
It's okay. Anita, what do
can
you
say-
do?
I like holes. I fuck friends. I touch cats.
That was a question I was not expecting the answers to, clearly.
Really, at this point, you don't fuck.
I'm kidding,
fuck my
I'm kidding.
friends.
What do you do on Twitch, Anita?
Yeah, what do you do?
I fap attack and I shout about cats. I make inappropriate gestures to large amounts of people, and I fail at Apex. And somewhere along the line, a lot of people decided that they were okay with this and keep coming back for more.
Yeah.
I tend to abuse people who are thirsty towards me. I'm the queen of mixed signals because I'll be like, hello sailor, fuck you. And I don't understand what it is. I think it's because Terrence, which is what we call the tick, is quite flirtatious, is not fussy about what genitalia you have, or what species you are, or what status you are. You could be the messiah, you could be the queen, and he'll still offer to fist you. But I'm actually the complete opposite and a demisexual and don't really have much of a sexual side to me, except in very, very select circumstances. And so there's two very contrasting aspects of my behavior, which results in situations where I'm like winking at people across the street and they come over to say hello and stuff, and it turns out it's just a tick. Like when I wink, I'm not genuinely winking at you guys in chat. I'm sorry. I'm
Whereas
sorry to
I am
you.
chat.
Sorry.
I wink at you, chat.
Yeah, Gideon's winks are real. He's a genuine one. But then these guys come over like, hello, and I'm like, fuck off. What the fuck are you doing over here? Because I'm not even paying attention to it. I don't know that I'm winking. I'm not paying attention to that. And so basically, this kind of mind fuckery that is my life, this kind of like, this has somehow been pleasing to a group of people who have decided to call themselves the Fish Fisters, and basically that is my life now. And I've gone from picking up sea glass and shouting at rocks on the beach and getting a wide berth from people in general, and that was my life. That was my business. I sold sea glass by the seashore, and I fucked up my friends. And now I play computer games and get drunk, and that is my life.
Amazing.
This is brilliant. It's such a cool story though. Like from where you've it's, I don't know, it makes me feel like really like.
Oh, you ain't even heard the half of it. I've been homeless. I used to live in a tree for a year when I was about 6 or 7.
Was it a tree or an ent?
Luckily, it was just a tree because in my early life, I was only 6 or 7, and I think if the tree was moving, I would have found abseiling 10 million times harder. And the thing is as well, we didn't have a toilet. We had a stack of logs. Like they piled the logs like this, like this, like this, like this. And then you just went up a little ramp to the top of it and pooped off the edge. And you were just exposed to the world and everyone else. It was insane. So like this is kind of like the origin story. The Anita lore gets weirder, trust me. You've not heard the best bits yet.
We need an Anita Draw My Life.
Yeah,
exactly.
I need to draw my life.
Awesome.
I want to see that cartoon Anita pooping over the side of a tree.
Hey guys, we do take fan art and stuff. So if you guys want to focus on that in Anita's
I really
chat,
want to draw.
If you want to focus on things, yes, but please do not focus on the 7-year-old Anita doing what she said that she was doing. That's it.
Oh no! Oh brain, no!
We've taken a turn. We've taken a turn on this podcast.
All right, depression. Let's go. Let's get sad. Come on, guys.
Okay.
That's a joke. Sorry, that's a bad
Something
one.
that I wanted to touch on that is that we did touch on a bit, but you did. It was the last thing that we said before going to grief. Was that at the end of the day, you are an amalgamation of all the experiences that you've been through, of all of the things that you have done, that you have experienced, that others around you have experienced, and thus influenced you. You are you. No one else will ever be you. And even if someone has lived through everything with you, which is not possible, the people that interact with them are going to be different. So even they are going to be completely different.
Yeah.
So yeah, accept that you're different. That's why something we stressed very much in the beginning was that this is what worked for us. We cannot say that it will work for you.
Hey!
This is our experiences. This is how we have dealt with some things. And we're just here to share those experiences with you.
And different isn't bad. People always stigmatize different or abnormal. It's like, what the fuck is normal? Let's be honest, you know? I like to use the words unique, eclectic, you know? Like, I'm an eclectic human being. I have my own values. I have my own way of looking at it. But we're all, and I mean, I don't want to, like, say this in terms of a meme kind of thing, but, like, we are all snowflakes in our own right, because every snowflake is different, you know? Every droplet that forms is its own unique thing. So with there being so many of us on the planet, we should definitely focus on the positive sides of what we can do as individuals, and sometimes that is accepting that we have emotional moments and we have those tough moments in our life, but that doesn't make you any less of a human being. That doesn't make you any less valuable. That doesn't mean that nobody loves you. We do. We care about you. That's why we're here. We care about ourselves enough to want to be here, and sometimes it's really hard as well. There have been moments in my life where, you know, I've been in bed for 18 hours and I'm like, I don't want to get up and hit the go live button. You know, but sometimes doing so can absolutely blow you away. Like being able to take those moments and opportunities in your life to go and do things that you can benefit from can lead to so many wonderful opportunities. So please take them. Please take those opportunities, guys. You know, do that stuff.
The fact that you're unique and different does not make you, as Gideon said, in any way, shape, or form less or lesser. We are the same in being different, is what I've always been told, and the sentiment that I always went by. Accept others for who they are. If you can help them, do it. If you feel like doing so, never force
dick.
to
dick?
help anyone, or overall, don't force yourself unless it's for your own good. And it's really important to accept ourselves above all, and then accept all of those around us.
Someone's just asked if I do voice acting, or have I tried voice acting? Yes!
Hey, Peter, I love doing voices. It's one of my things.
So I do voices. You know, I have a load of fun, especially doing the old man voice of the
Back in my day, 17,000 years ago.
Do you do voices?
Oh my goodness, you know, I used to until I was shitting in a hole off the side of a cliff. It's a real issue. Oh, if I derailed this podcast again, I'm sorry.
But yeah, you know, I do random voices. I work as like I said, as a community manager for a game called Dead by Daylight, which is an asymmetrical horror game. And how I got that job was from an opportunity, kind of through the experiences in my life from depression. Because I was depressed, my sleep schedule was completely backwards. I started watching American football because it was on at 4 a.m, and I was awake at that time because I couldn't sleep. I got really invested in that, and then I started to work a job in the afternoons so that I could stream in the evenings, and I'd stream in the evenings, and from there, you know, people at the company saw my streams, and the companies in Canada. So the fact that I was on a backwards sleep schedule and a different pattern completely worked out for me. So the idea of me coming from what was a really bad place of depression has now led me to being in the position that I'm in from my experiences moving forward. I'm just very thankful for the fact that people are willing to give you the opportunities in life to move forward. You just have to be willing to take them. Like I said before, you know, being able to to take those moments, and even behind me, where is it?
Can I touch your cat? Can I fuck your friends?
I have this, which is, I know it's backwards right now, I apologize, but it says, when you feel like quitting, think about why you started.
Oh, that's a good one.
So that's just something that I often will think about. Those moments where you can't get out of bed and stuff, or you're like, this is too much for me today. Okay, but that doesn't mean it's over. That doesn't mean it's that your life has gone because you missed a day of doing whatever you wanted to do. People understand, and ultimately it's more getting back up and continuing to move forward and progress as an individual that will make you amazing. I'm now distracted by the cat, like massively, like
I'm
in a
so
good
sorry.
way.
I was just trying to like
it's
make
good.
her leave because she was like on the desk, but I don't know. She's just a bit clingy.
Oh, I'm happy about it.
Okay, good.
I've seen a good question. It says, can you talk about how depression causes people to go through thoughts like, I'm not going to get better, which make people not want to seek help? And I'd say that every time that it's very common for depression to have you spiraling into a fucking big, into like you. It's like having a gremlin that follows you around and bullies you, except that gremlin is just you. And unfortunately, you know all your weaknesses, you know all your fears, you know all the things that will hurt you the most. And the thing is, like, when you start telling yourself you're never going to get better, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. In fact, most forms of anxiety, most of your fears are things that you end up creating and manifesting through being terrified of it. If you're terrified of being cheated on, you'll end up pushing away your partner with your behavior. These are the sorts of patterns you end up in. And I think if you keep telling yourself that there's no point because you won't get better, that's exactly what that achieves. So yes, go ahead and tell yourself that if that's where you want to go in life. But I know it doesn't always work like that. I mean, you could tell yourself, I'm like, you could tell yourself, I'm going to get rich, and it may never happen. Like, it's not exactly like that. You can't just manifest things just by thinking them. But you can tend to end up accidentally manifesting things by fearing them. Fear is a very powerful emotion. And so if you fear never getting better, that's what you're going to do to yourself. And the fact of the matter is that if you never try, you'll never get out of it.
Yeah.
You have to try to stand a chance. And yes, you might fail. But the great thing about being a human that lives for long periods of time is that you'll get several chances to fail. And, at some point, you're probably going to break through that wall if you just keep trying. So, yeah, I'd say for people who think hopeless spiraling thoughts, that's normal. You're okay. That's a normal depression cycle. You break out of that, firstly, by stop listening to that bastard gremlin. Remember that gremlin is you. And that you choose what it says for a start. That's a big old one. Realizing that little voice is there in the first place, bullying you and going, who the fuck are you? I don't want you saying that. I'd never say that to someone in that position. I am empathetic towards people who are depressed. Why can't I be empathetic towards me? Like, these are the things you need to be thinking if you're spiraling to that hopeless despair. I have a dick. I have a tasty dick. And the thing with that is that it's thick. And that was actually going somewhere meaningful. I hate it when Terrence does that. The thing with all of this is that it's depression. If you know it's going to be this dark, hopeless, sinking feeling, that's it in a nutshell. Of course, it's going to tell you loads of bullshit. And the sooner you realize that that it's you. You are the one spinning that bullshit. Yeah. And you're doing it mercilessly in a situation you would never do it to anyone else. I could never picture walking into someone's bedroom while they were sleeping and going, oi, wake up. You're a failure. You're a fucking failure. Look at you. You're fat. You need to fix your fucking hair, brush your hair. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why haven't you spoken to your mother? Like, speak to your fucking mother, you loser. Why don't you appreciate anything? Like,
this is what I'm gonna have this evening. It's just Anita being like, fix your hair, like in the back of my mind.
Yeah. So that's all I'm gonna say is You are the gremlin. The sooner you realize that, the sooner you can shut it the fuck up.
Yeah.
When it comes to
Oh, go
failure,
on.
I don't think that there is anyone that has never failed in their life. And if you've never failed in your life, I kind of feel bad for you, to be honest. Because it's inevitable that you will. And if you go for a long time without doing so, the moment that you will live even the smallest fail, you're going to go down really fast. So yeah, what someone just said in the chat, you have failed at life if you've never failed in life.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
I think a
I
good.
am.
Oh, my apologies.
It's okay. I was just gonna say, like, there's this book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and it's about how basically language is taught, and what you think because it's in language is then taught, and you're not you are the listener of the thought. You're not the thought itself. You aren't consciously thinking the things that you're saying. You're just the listener to what's happening, and the more you practice just listening, the more that you can have a bit more control and change. So when you're this saying that you're hopeless and things like that, I do have a bit of belief where it's like, you are what you say you are. Like, I am what I am. And if I say I'm anxious, oh bitch, you best believe like my anxiety is gonna start amping up.
Yeah.
If I say like I'm drained, oh, you best believe I'm gonna start feeling it. Your body responds to your beliefs. Now you can just affirm things like saying I am something, and you might not feel the benefit, like the effects of that straight away. Think of it as like a belief. Like if you have a belief and you're telling yourself this story of I'm doomed, I can't get help, I can't get better, then that is what you're condemning yourself to. And I'm not saying like, you know, just make blanket statements to yourself to like heal over wounds. It's like, no, really try to like make new thought patterns, make and tell a better story about yourself and about who you are and your journey. And another really good tip that someone said in my Discord about like looking in the mirror and just paying yourself a compliment. Something that tends to happen with a lot of us is we'll look in the mirror and the first thing our brain connects to, like, is it a synapse connection? I don't know, it's my head, but it'll make a connection to like, oh, you look like shit. And there's kind of like the gremlin vibe, you know, or it's like, you know, you can look in the mirror and then it'll like start saying bad shit. And the more you do that and you let it go on in its process, it will strengthen and strengthen. So that's the first thought that you think when you look in the mirror. And it's not true. And I know that it might feel it because it makes you feel like shit, but it doesn't mean it's true just because you're thinking it. And if you try and actively like rewire and restructure those thought patterns, and even if you catch yourself in it, so for example, you might notice that then your nose, and then your hair, and then your tits, and then somewhere else, and then it goes on like a pattern where you just start seeing all these other shit things after the first one. If you can catch yourself somewhere in this pattern, it will weaken like the synapses, and you start building you know, a new thought pattern. It's that thing, the thing about the gym, you know, like the first day you go to the gym, it's not that easy. You have to build that habit, and then once you start getting into it and fully into it, it's easy and it's fine. But definitely, like, I don't know, a small tip that really helped me out, look in the mirror and give yourself a compliment.
Even something as simple as smiling, like when you think of a bad thought, sometimes like just either thinking of a good thought to counteract that, or smiling can force your brain to go, hang on a minute, like I should be happy right now. And something that I've started implementing, which I don't know if other people do, but I'd love it if you guys are struggling but need it, is I put post-it notes around my room on my walls. So like on the back of my door it just says I love you, so every time I have to leave my room I see that. And it may only be subconsciously that I start to react to it, but it has definitely helped me accept certain things about myself that I don't think I would have got to if I hadn't have given myself that kind of stimuli. So just like Memento. Yeah, exactly. Less murder though, but yeah, that's true. I do like the idea of leaving post-it notes and stuff like that.
For the past several years, I have been dealing with an affliction that affects my memories. So every night, at some point, I had to basically sit down and write most of the things that happened the previous day, in order to be able to, the next day, to be sure that I remember the important things. And the other thing that I always did is that at the end of each day, I would write down one good thing that happened that day.
Yeah.
And the next day, if I woke up either having forgotten things that happened the previous day or having just not feeling well, I would see that and I would smile for a bit. And then during the day, if it's something that I could repeat, I would do it again. And I would say that at the end of the note, I would say, like, I also did the thing that I did yesterday. Next to the fact that I did something else that made me happy. And if I needed something more, I would go a day back. Or if I needed even more than that, I would go as many days as I needed in order to be like, yeah, happiness is there.
There's something that's... Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I'm finishing up, no worry. It's just that even small things like that, just write down reminders of what happened that day that made you smile. Are going to be so damn important. And yeah.
There's something as simple as I don't know if the site's called The Chain or something, but it's just a printable calendar, and ultimately, like, with so the premise is to not break the chain. So for a while I would have this calendar, and every day I would do something like editing, and that could be or like, let's take voice acting because that's probably even easier to describe, but I might practice voice acting, and it might be as simple as doing the "Hey Peter," you know, and like day after day I would start to do that, and then I'd cross off that I'd done it that day. And then the idea is to not break the chain. So even if it's as simple as saying those 2 words that I've just said, I was doing something productive that day that helps me out. So being able to learn to not break the chain when you have those good habits and move forward with those is such a good thing. So yeah, so don't break the chain.
Yeah, it's important. Again, at some point, especially when dealing with depression, you're going to have and
Continue.
Yeah, this is... Sorry, we've derailed. As soon as Anita fucked off, it's like... Oh,
My brain just like went for a cup of tea. Like,
I'm seeing an
literally, I was
empty
just like,
chair, and my brain is trying so hard to like...
the parent is gone. Chaos ensues.
Do we have any more? Do we have any more questions from chat that you guys want to throw at us?
Is that the rabbit like running on a wheel? Can you hear that?
It's that, or it's Anita stirring her tea.
I've been hearing that in the background. I'm like,
Yeah,
go,
I think that's a
go on,
water
buddy.
bottle. I think that's
Keep
what you're
going.
drinking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering what the sound of it was. Cause like, is a bunny? Bunnies don't run on wheels?
I mean, well, they can do. Be interesting. Depends on how big the wheel is, for one.
It's very
Secondly-
likely, but I'm just throwing that possibility out there, that because Anita's not in the room, and Anya is also dealing with some stuff because of
True.
Nudge. She might be just tapping on the bottom of her cage. That's something that rodents do.
Oh.
Stop trying to be
Yeah.
quiet coming in back there.
Yeah.
We see you.
It's like sneaking.
Quietly shutting the door in, or like...
I think that throughout this time she could still hear us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Mostly.
We didn't derail. Don't worry.
did a bit.
Well,
Derail?
well,
No.
I just did the most carefully quiet pee I've ever done in my life because the bathroom is right next door to here. So I was like, terrified that I was gonna get
That's so
banned
funny.
for like the weirdest, like most, like weirdest
okay.
ASMR ever.
We talked
Yeah.
over it. It's okay. We've got you covered.
I was like,
Oh my goodness.
I was trying to pee really gently.
This is not the wankable content that people tune in for.
I feel like that should be like, I don't know, some kind of merch or something now. Wankable content.
I like that you ushered at your boobs there when you did that.
I know. Well,
Just like
that's
wankable content.
it's where the motto would be.
That's where the content is. That's obviously where the content is. That's the appropriate
Young
place
cops.
to put it.
Alright, I'm gonna
Hey!
Oh man.
Can I fuck your friends?
one sec.
No worries.
I'm slightly more awake now. I'm gonna admit it.
Mhm.
I did start to drift off at one point. I haven't slept in quite a while, and I was just like,
Yeah.
and like hallucinating a little bit. But I think I'm back. I think that really, really tentative pee woke me up somehow. I think it was the concentration.
Well, that's the thing earlier as well when Lucy was saying like when I mentioned that Lucy hadn't slept, and then my mods immediately called me out for going and having a nap before this. They were like, "Yeah, okay, good. Like you never sleep."
Yeah, I literally woke up about an hour before the stream, so
I do that too often.
Structure. That's what we were talking about. You know, finding that structure.
consistency,
Yeah.
having a routine. Yeah.
I can't. I think it's the ADD part that fucks me up on that part, but
Yep.
I just can't. I can't be regular at all. And the main reason why I wish I could be is because rabbits really love routine. They love treats o'clock and stuff like that. They like consistency, and I want to be that for them. I keep forgetting that Nudge isn't here. It's so annoying.
Oh.
But like, I've still got him in a box. I haven't buried him yet. We have a little bit of a process. We have a grieving process.
Yeah.
Where, me and my mum have always like we position them in a sleeping position. We close their eyes. We put them in a box on some bedding. We put some treats with them, some things that were precious to us. And I've cut a lock of my hair and given it to him, and I've cut a little bit of his hair and I'm keeping it with me. So like, there's a whole process to it, and in a day or two, I'll be burying him. I had planned to do it today, but I guess I'm going to leave it till daylight now. And I've got some special plants that he likes, including parsley, to put on his grave and everything. So, yeah.
I got a pretty interesting question come in. It says, "Great stream." So thank you. Can you guys still hear me? My voice connection's just gone to red.
Yes.
There we go. Been wondering about when you guys realized the root of your depression. I've dealt with the self-hate most of my life, but recently came to realize that it's in part because I used to blame myself for my parents' unhappiness. So the question being, when did you guys realize the root of your depression?
I think it's a process. At least for me, it never was a sudden realization. And for me, most of the times that I went through it, it was at the end that I sat down with myself and was like, okay, what caused us to go through this? For me, it was always much more about dealing with it, trying to isolate the possible reasons as to why, but not exactly saying that this is the thing, because when you're dealing with it, you can't really say that it's one thing. You can't know. And I would much rather take a little bit more time giving equal attention to everything than focus on one thing and have that thing be the wrong thing.
That's a really good way of looking at it. And I definitely would say that there are probably bigger factors in your life where traumatic events have led you down the path of something that can trigger depression and other things like that. And for me personally, I definitely know that there were certain moments when I was a teenager where I could pinpoint where I started to change my behavior and like where I started to cut myself off from people but I couldn't see that at the time. That's the thing. This is just reflection on that stuff and being able to look back and go, hey, okay, X amount of years has passed. These were interesting triggers. Did I ever get over these? Did I ever talk to myself about this? Which was something Lucy was discussing with me the other day, like the idea of like nurturing your inner child. It's like, have you ever really... Oh, Jesus. That's something we've got to talk about. What just happened in Anita's chat.
God damn,
Yeah.
Coffee.
Jesus.
Holy shit, Coffee. I was gonna quietly,
Oh,
discreetly
wow.
thank him in chat to not interrupt you guys.
No. This is
Yeah,
definitely
no.
something we should discuss.
I love Coffee.
Holy shit.
Coffee is so generous. Thank you so much. Thanks again. This isn't
Wow.
the first time.
That's insane.
Yeah. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
In all the good
Coffee
ways.
is amazing. And I still kind of feel bad for dishonoring his name last time around.
Oh yeah? What happened?
Well, don't you remember the Coffee River thing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How have we got back
Yeah.
to shit already? We get maybe like 5 seconds away or 5 minutes away from it, like with some deep stuff, and then we're talking about feces once
My
again.
cock is in it. Hey.
I'll make it up to you, Coffee, at some point. But
I
yeah,
splash your twat with a baseball bat.
Did you finish what you were saying, Owl?
I don't remember what I was saying.
I'm so sorry.
I know that the roots of depression. We were talking about what the whys and like finding a root.
Oh, I was talking about inner child, wasn't I?
Yeah. Yeah.
was it.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's like I know that I wanted to say something, but I was not looking. So yeah, go on again.
Yeah, the idea of like being open and honest with yourself, and again, that can take time. Getting to that point where it's like, okay, which of these things can I pinpoint that I haven't necessarily dealt with? And sometimes you might need help with that. Like therapy, for example, talking to a healthcare professional, because as we said, we're not healthcare professionals as much as, you know, we like to be official doctors with post-it notes on our shirts. But, you know, being able to talk to somebody who is trained to listen to this and try and help you. And I would like to point out as well that there is something called Twitch Cares, which is where it's a link that we can post in the chat that you okay, Lise?
My cat is like licking my knee.
Yeah, I knew it was
That was
something cat
funny.
related. I was like, hang on. But yeah, there's a Twitch Cares link that is to do with different helplines and advice that you can call, numbers specifically if you need someone to talk to. And I'm sure it's the same with other places, like in the UK, for example, we have like the Samaritans that you can ring up at any time if you're struggling with stuff like that, just to have somebody to talk to. Here we go, I've got the link. I can post it to Anita and she can post it to her mods, or Brandino.
He's magic. you'll find
Brandinho.
it.
Exactly.
You're so
Marlon,
fantastic.
as I call him. Marlon
I touched his cunt.
Brandino.
His emote had me cracking up for hours.
But yes, so that, I don't know if that's just US, but it is.
I think that it provides the link that it gives is actually to a website that provides information
Wonderful.
for all around the world.
Yeah, there we go, worldwide as well and stuff. So for those of you that do struggle in that regard and you need some help, and there might not be anybody there to talk to specifically at that particular moment in time, please reach out, because you aren't alone, and we are here for you genuinely. And as something that I said at the beginning, I'm certainly happy to talk to people about stuff offline as well, if there are deeper issues that people want to go into. But again, I can only offer my experiences and advice. I can't offer you medical help. So that's something that I just wanted to point out, is making sure you check that link out, because there might be a friend even that even from earlier you said about friends not being able to reach out, or they're sucking the life out of you. Just posting them a link to something like that and being like, hey, I can't deal with this today, but here's something that I'd really like you to look at, can really help. Right, I'm gonna go pee now, very, very loudly.
Please.
ASMR.
I was gonna say,
Right, I'll be
because
back,
with the
Jen.
question about finding the root of your depression, like for me at least, I don't know. Some like is there a root? Sometimes it just feels like a culmination of so many different things going on and going wrong. Whether it's an unhappy family, shit friendships, not enjoying school, feeling like you've got no purpose, not understanding things. I think I remember when I was diagnosed with depression at the doctor's, it's like, oh, it's all well and good being told you're depressed. But it's all well and good being told that you're depressed, but the why, I was always so frustrated with the why. I'm like, okay, right, you're telling me I'm depressed with all these symptoms that I'm experiencing, apparently that's depression, so but why? And I've kind of, as I've grown up and I've gotten away like from, I don't identify as depressed, not anymore at least, but as I've grown up, you can reflect back on those things and you can see, different parts of your life which has, attributed and contributed to, a poor state of mind. But yeah, I think always finding the root of it or the why. I mean, if it's only one thing, you're very lucky that you can identify it, and I think that there's a lot of things that you can do to something that I've done with my own inner child healing things that was that Gid was saying earlier, doing psychotherapy stuff with just yourself. You can sit and just lie on your bed, do some breathing exercises, and imagine you meeting with a younger version of yourself, and just imagining a conversation with that part of you. For example, there's a 15-year-old me who was very very upset and angry with the world. Then there's there's different aspects of me, and I sit down, I imagine us in a chair having an interview and talking about things. There's been times where it's a TV talk show and I get my dad in Jeremy Kyle vibes and confront things and just really air out shit. And it's all happened right on this bed. But it's been so helpful. And if you do have family issues, I think there's a book that I read. It was called Neil Strauss, The Uncomfortable Truth About Relationships. And it, on the end of that book, it touches on, I love how your bunny's out of the cage.
Yeah, I just turned to let her out. She's
bless.
She's great. She doesn't chew wires.
Oh, that's fab.
Yeah, because I've got a lot out at the moment, and this could be a serious situation, but she's just a little angel. It would have been dangerous with Nudge, because I loved him, but he would dart out at any chance and just destroy anything he could touch.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's good. But yeah, my point was, at the end of that book, talks about, in a child, psychotherapy sounds like a big word. It's kind of scary, but it's in a child, healing, and it teaches you about the different kinds of relationships that you have with your parents and how they can affect you and your relationships with other people and even yourself. So I definitely check that out if that sounds interesting to you.
And if that sounds scary and you want to check something else out, I have a link to a guy called Paul McKenna, which I know a lot of people won't necessarily know
he's
and
really
or
cool.
heard of, but and it's something as simple as it's a deep relaxation. So you just listen to it with headphones on for 30 minutes and check if that helps at all. It might not help you, but it certainly helps me sleep, for example. If I'm really struggling just having somebody else, because I have tinnitus as well. For those of you that don't know, the ringing in your ears, because I studied music for many years, and it's loud sometimes. My mind can often be blocked up with me overthinking things, and then when the overthinking stops, I just have a constant ringing in my ears. So it's not like I get a break at all from my mind. So listening to something like this can really shut off the need to listen to my own brain or anything like that, and just take that time to relax. So I don't know if it will help everybody, but hopefully it will give you guys something to think about.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've seen some of the stuff that he does. It's really interesting the way that he plays on the interactions between psychology and the body, physical contact and sensations. But I will say that there is a book that I took an interest in. It's about life traps, and it has a really cheesy name. It's what's the cheesy name? It's something stupid like it's like How to Something Your Life, but I've forgotten the
Sounds
the
catchy.
cheese.
How to something your life.
How to Something Your Life.
Because
God
your
damn
life
it.
needed something.
A small note, because there are many people in the chat asking for it. All of the links and the books and all of the references we've made, we are going to write them down at the end of the stream, and we're going to share them with you.
Okay.
Like, there's probably going to be maybe like a small paste bin on Anita's server or something.
Yeah. So you guys will be able to chase up any resources we've suggested here. But anyway, I have this book. I will have to put the name of it there because I'm bad with names. But basically, it talks about life traps and how people who are particularly resistant to therapy, and by that I mean not people who don't want therapy, but rather people who go and don't get fixed ever for years. And the thing is that some therapists got together and they kind of wrote up some of the kind of typical life traps that people fall into that are very hard to pull people out of. And it really clued me into the psychology of why, say, women in abusive relationships keep ending up in a new abusive relationship. And it's not necessarily because they're attracted to bad boys, because that's such a negative stereotype. They tend to be very hopeful about the new relationship and think it's going to go completely differently to the way that it tends to go. And explains these cycles. And it's not the only kind. And sometimes people can't break out of their cycles because the feelings that have developed into these behaviors manifested before they developed any language. So young, they didn't have any words to describe how they're feeling. And one of the first things you do when you go to therapy is usually go back to the first time you felt that way. They usually teleport you back in time and go, when did this start? Who started this? Kitten. So I fucked a cat. So basically, if you have to go back to a time before you had words and any means to articulate what you're experiencing, it becomes very much more difficult to ever challenge. And things like this can open massive windows into whole situations and whole kind of cycles that you've been in without realizing. And A, it points them out to you. B, it teaches you how to challenge them. And C, it gives you back control, and it gives you back an insight into other people. And more than anything, I have a dick. I have a thick fucking dick. More than anything, it taught me how to understand and appreciate others despite their struggles. And I've known quite a lot of people who I used to find incredibly obnoxious. So obnoxious. I used to really be pissed off with them and their failings. And it used to be like, I used to have a friend who used to go into clubs and he'd always pick fights after he got a certain level of drunk. And, you know, he always used to try and pull a bird, as they say. And he'd want
UK.
all the guys... Huh?
As they say in the UK.
Yeah. And he'd just be... He wouldn't care what she looked like or anything. All he cared about was being able to show other people that A, he was big, mean and tough. And B, he could pull birds. So that made him a man. And before I read the book, I just thought, oh, what a cock. But now, understanding where that behavior came from, I sat down with him one night just before, when we were all like, oh, he's on the cusp of being an annoyance now. You can tell he's gotten that far into the drink, because he's a lovely guy until he hits about that level of drink, right?
Yeah.
So I sat down with him and I was like, I'm so so fucking sorry that you went through all of this. I am so sorry about what happened with your dad. He never mentioned his dad, but after reading that book, I know it was his dad, you know? And like, he was like, how the fuck? What the fuck? And he was like really startled and upset that he was, you know, that he'd given so much away. But I was just saying, like, you're surrounded by people who love you, who you don't need to prove anything to. You can get drunk and be happy with us.
Yeah.
And we don't need to see you achieve anyone or beat anything or beat anyone. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it was a really interesting conversation. I kind of put it out as well recently to a few friends on Apex that this whole thing about stealing social status from women, making them a slut so you can be a stud, you basically tear a little piece of social respect from this woman. It's a total bullshit system. Women should be allowed to be thirsty too without consequences. But in this society, there are men out on the prowl to get women to do things with them and then shame them for it. And that whole system is to prove manhood that never really sticks. And like, if you get labeled a slut, that can stick with you for years. But if you get labeled, you know, as the kind of guy who got laid last night, that little honor badge doesn't last for years. No one goes, yeah, he's a stud. He got laid 6 years ago. So like, it's a waste of energy.
I mean,
anyway.
I do all the time. But yeah. Remember 6 years ago? Yeah.
That one time 6 years ago, you know.
That
So
people really do
basically-
not understand. Oh yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. So like I had a little chat with him about all of that stuff back then, and you know, I think he found it really upsetting and intimidating, but also very liberating because he needed to think about those things and he never got the chance. And I wanted to give him that book, but we parted ways. I moved away before I could give it to him. But after that, I started realizing that that book was very helpful, and I gave it to as many people as I could. And it's actually turned a lot of people's lives around. I think it's called Reinventing Your Life. That's the name of the book.
Awesome.
There we
That
go.
sounds good. I love a good self-help book. I recently got one for my birthday where it's like how to be a total badass and change your life. And it's really great. Yeah, books like that, they are actually really helpful. Yeah.
I just
Go on,
wanted
Owl.
to... Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say Owl because Owl
Do
tried
it,
to say
Owl.
something earlier. so-
Something that many people don't understand when it comes to any type of trauma, be it societal, be it personal, be it very tragic, is that 99% of the people are going to deal with it in two ways. Either go way too deep on the experience and try to, in a way, fetishize it. Not sexually necessarily, but that too. Or they're going to be completely terrified of it. And there are extremes, like what you said earlier about that cycle of abusive relationships, that it's very likely that someone that has been in an abusive relationship will jump onto another one afterwards. There are also other people that, after they've been in one relationship that was abusive, even if, in quotes, it wasn't as terrible, because whether it was terrible or not is not for me to judge, or for anyone for that matter, there is a possibility that instead of going to another abusive relationship, they will just completely shut down. Similarly, that applies to most other traumas. Like, you will either get into it because you are trying to find a way to rationalize it. So because you're like, this happened to me, so I need to understand whether it's something common, and if it's not common, why did it happen to me? But there are also people that are like, this happened, so I will never do something like that again. And it's something that many people don't understand about trauma, because like there are so many labels, like toxic masculinity, daddy issues, mommy issues, so many just terrible labels that are that are forced upon people, that you really should never use, because you just don't know that person. You don't know what they've been through. And above all, you are not a specialist most of the time, and you really should not try to judge someone based on the things that they've gone through, because most of the time they had no control over it. So, first of all, seriously, screw you if you think that you can in any way, shape, or form judge them. And secondly, just overall, don't be a dick. Don't judge others.
It's crazy.
That actually is like the perfect segue onto what I was going to talk about. Was, you know, I had I've been waiting for complex needs therapy for quite some time, and I went and had an assessment the other day, and it was like my first taste of group therapy. And I was in there, and they discussed what was going to be on the course, and like all the kind of stuff that I'd be going through, like mentalization based therapy and stuff like that. So it was all really cool. And there was one guy in there that they had been through the course, and he was trying to tell people and teach people about the experiences of going through the course. And I found myself starting to resent the guy. And I was like, I had to sit there and ask myself, why am I mad at this guy? Like, again, he seemed kind of like obnoxious in the way he was responding to stuff. And then I had to like reflect upon myself and be like, why am I suddenly, I don't know this person, why am I suddenly feeling this way? And I think I could just see a lot of similarities between me and him, and I was jealous that he had the answers and he had been through it and managed to go through that stuff before me, you know, like, but that all came in the space of an hour whilst I was sitting there realizing, firstly, that, sorry, I'm going all blurry because I keep putting my hands up. Firstly realizing, okay, I don't like this person. Then giving them a chance in my own head and accepting that it's something that's happening to me, and then actually being able to get past that. And by the end of it, I had no qualms with the guy whatsoever and found myself appreciating him in that regard. So yeah, it was very different. You ever noticed Giddawid looks like a 40-year-old Justin Bieber? No, I have not, because usually I'm a mix between Jack Black and Jake from 2.5 Men, so too busy noticing those instead.
Small note to everyone that is asking in the chat. I am not a woman. I'm not trans. I am just a dude with long hair.
And a deep voice.
And a deep voice.
And it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's a really nice voice. I've noticed myself like really take a back seat and not talk, just because both of you, like, everyone's voice is just really nice to listen to.
You say that, but Lucy does this thing on her stream where she can't help but talk like this, and it's really cute. So
it's only when I'm excited.
Yeah.
I can do quick this for the duration of the stream if you want me to.
Oh my god, that's so bait.
We have the high voice. And
oh my god, shit.
The Joker, he's here. I've seen him.
I was gonna say, like,
Piss on your friends.
sorry, I can't help but laugh. Right. It's hard to just ignore it because it's so funny and like so well timed. But yeah, no. Even just you having the realization of, I don't like this guy. You know what? Maybe I should give this guy a chance.
Yep.
You know what? I think, and having that whole realization like separates you from probably like so many people, and I really admire that. Because it's something that I like, self-reflection. Call yourself out on your own bullshit.
Yeah.
A lot of the judgments that you put onto other people are a reflection of yourself and things that you don't like. And I know it's like so cliche to say like, oh, like haters hate you because they're jealous.
Because they hate you. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and all that kind of crap. But most of the time, and this is a really interesting thing to do if you ever get into an argument with somebody or like a conflict, you can notice that like everything you say, notice what you say, because usually it's a reflection, an exact reflection of you. So I can just say like, oh, you're being a bitch and you're not listening. I'm like, wait, I'm being a bitch and I'm not listening. And then like and use it, and you that as well through other people's pain too. And like, I mean, obviously, you know, you sometimes just get some like proper assholes, and like it's like not worth trying to get that deep on their reflections and stuff, like Twitch trolls. That's where I'm getting at. Sorry. But you know, like with your friends and stuff, or like with a family member, like it's really funny, like to actually just notice how so much of what people say, especially from a place of hurt or a place of like negativity, or you know, it is it is like a reflection of them, and you can listen to that and like try not to like take it personally and just see it as, you know, as them. And again, when you can start looking at your life through like, you know, when you feel bad about somebody or feel negativity towards somebody, really try and like see how that's a reflection of yourself, because, you know, 9 times out of 10, like it's an issue that like with you and your own like mentality. Again, like it could be like it's usually very deep and subconscious. Like I don't think anyone rarely consciously chooses, oh, I'm just gonna be a dick and not like this person and choose to feel uncomfortable feelings about somebody. You know, most of the time it's an involuntary thing, but you can voluntarily, you know, reflect on it and, you know, do that thing what you said. Like it's really good like strategy is to, okay, acknowledge how you feel about this person. Open your mind to, okay, you know what, I'm gonna give this a chance, you know, ease into it, and then question, you know, why you're feeling certain ways. I mean, I'm really into spirituality, so that really like triggers some people, because it is like an unknown thing, and you know, like some people, it can really like rub up people's belief systems the wrong way, and that's something that like I like deal with. But with anything, I think usually your judgments are a reflection of like your own inner self, and other people's judgments are, again, a reflection of themselves. Really cool. I think it's really cool that you analyze yourself that way. I think self-analyzation is great.
I think the difference was like, to begin with, the first bit was not the acceptance, but realizing I was about to beat myself up and be like, I don't like this person, and then I was going to sit there and not listen and not learn and just focus on the fact that I didn't like him. And it's like, you know, that as soon as I caught myself, I was like, Gid, you're being ridiculous. Like, and then I figured it out in my own head as to why. And I think that is so key, is being able to, like you said, reflect upon yourself and how you feel, and take those moments and move forward from them. Even you can even go back to, hey, the last time I had an argument, or why did I react that way to somebody, or why did I give them that advice, and just try and work through it systematically. Be like, was there something that affected me that day? A perfect example is, you know, someone might say something in chat that annoys a streamer, okay, like upsets the streamer. That person gets timed out, or they get banned, or whatever, depending on how far you want to go. So that person's out. The next person comes in 10 minutes later and makes a joke about something that then triggers a response from the streamer, because the last person had just been banned for whatever they said. That new person has no recollection or recognition of the fact that that last person even existed to make that joke. So you have to take everything with a pinch of salt and go, hey, this person is here. Maybe they were trying to make a joke and it was just untimely. And I think being able to accept and forgive people a lot of the time is one of those things. But I always say to Twitch chats, like, read the room that you're walking into. Give people a chance, or give yourself a chance to realize what kind of mood the streamer is in. Give yourself a chance to realize what kind of chat you're having at that particular moment. So I think that helps a lot with the idea of depression, because of the fact that sometimes when you're depressed, you might go into a Twitch chat expecting to be able to open up, and you might not have walked into the right opportunity. You're
totally right with that. I've had that too. It's really helpful advice. Read the room. I like that.
I'm quite unforgiving with that sort of thing. Most of my whispers are hundreds and hundreds of people going, why did I get banned? Can you unban me? And the reason why I've taken that stance is because pretty much every single person who's complained about being banned feels that it was unjust or unfair, and then I go look at their chat logs and there's like racism, homophobia, they've been warned several times, they ignored it, and they always feel like it's an injustice, and the minute they grovel, you let them back in, they do it all over again. And I have yet to get an example where it worked out well to bring back someone who was banned for being toxic. we had someone back when I had like 20 viewers, right at the beginning, and
Last week,
we
yeah.
banned them. And we banned them, and they came back months later and went, "I'm really sorry about how I behaved. I went to therapy, I fixed it. Can I come back?" And I should have seen it as a red flag that they obsessed that badly about a Discord channel.
Yep.
That they remembered it like 9 months later and were desperate to be reintegrated was probably a red flag that I ignored. But there was a lot of recurring themes, and they ended up being banned within the week.
Yeah.
So I kind of learned that
People are telling you to speak up a little bit or talk closer to your mic.
because I'm not very close to the mic.
Okay.
Yeah. Make sure I don't run over the bunny.
All the problems of the 80-20-20.
So basically what I ended up doing is I used to be really forgiving, and I was like, people aren't perfect, they make mistakes, give them a chance to do better. But I'm learning on Twitch that people do actually set out to cause discomfort, and sometimes if you let those people that thrive in anger and in they thrive off causing discomfort, that doesn't magically go away very easly. And that sometimes when you've got thousands of people or even hundreds of people or just tens of people, it's still a lot of people who are abusive, who want to see you cry, who want to see you uncomfortable. That's too much to handle when you're just trying to go about your day. So it's totally fine to have some self-respect and keep people who can't respect you at a distance. Forgiveness is great because not everyone can no one is ever going to be perfect. People are going to make mistakes. People are going to make poor decisions. They're not going to be able to have perfect reasoning in all situations. There are going to be tough days where people don't act perfectly. That's just a thing that's going to happen to everyone. So being able to identify the difference between someone going through that and someone who is genuinely a bully who does not respect you is really crucial when deciding who gets second chances, who you can support, who you can bring back into your life. Because it's definitely worth doing that, because one day you'll fuck up and you better hope to God that the people around you have some understanding, So yeah, it's a tough one to balance, but I think I'm getting there. And it took a long journey for me because particularly, and I guess I haven't really spoken much about this on stream, but I come from a history of abuse. So what that does to you, especially if you were young when it started, was you tend to internalize it and feel like you owe people things, especially if they've ever done anything for you. You feel like you owe them profusely. And it creates guilt and obligation to an extreme degree. So if someone is nice to you or just speaks to you like an equal human being, it can seem like an over-the-top kitten kind of favor to someone who's fucked, who's not used to that level of respect or contact. And it puts you in a very vulnerable position that you have to really learn your way out of. And it usually takes a few tries. It usually takes a few shitty people to learn your kind of threshold and your boundaries again. And I definitely went through that, and it's still tough in an environment like Twitch where people are begging for forgiveness constantly for using trigger words and things like that. And I've unbanned people for using trigger words, and then they've just spammed it again straight away. Currently in my whispers, I have 84 messages that were sent in the past 2 days with the trigger words. So I can no longer actually speak to people in my whispers anymore. I can't interact with viewers that way ever again. Yeah. So it's a tough environment, and it's a real hard thing to balance. But I'm really fucked. I have a thick baggedy fuck. I have Twitch to thank for learning a new threshold for how much respect I deserve and how much forgiveness I can give, and I'm so thankful for that, because from that it's created a beautiful filter where I have really lovely people around me now. And in real life as well, outside of the Twitch world. So in a roundabout way, it's done me a favor, and it's taught me a very valuable lesson.
Definitely.
I think like sometimes I think especially when you're first starting out Twitch, you can have a lot of patience for, trolls and people that are out to just kind of piss on your parade, kind of. And it's something that I've been learning too, I think when you're first starting out with things, or even just in general in life, like you can sometimes feel like you owe people stuff, and if they're nice to you, you should like give them the world because of it. And you know, you're very patient, and you can end up, you know, just being like just putting up with like a lot of shit for it. But I totally relate to you on like your journey where it's like you're learning more self-respect. Like there's times where I'm in a good mood and I have a lot of tolerance for troll, and then there's times where I'm like, I have no patience, like like just insta bans, let's go, like I don't care. And yeah, I don't know, it's interesting. Like, Gideon, I want to come chill in your chat because I don't know, like I want
She's done with us, guys.
That's with
Love you anymore.
that's with every like human relationship though. Like initially you're going to be much more lenient, and since all of the bad things keep on being there, persisting, the like your patience is going to thin out more and more. And at some point you're going to be like, fuck this, and either drop the relationship or just take extreme measures to fix it.
It's funny that you brought up like you brought up a lot of things. You know, I said earlier about there's like 7.5 billion people in the world. It's like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people that want to come in and have a lot of issues that they are hiding underneath the trolly messages that they're posting that they can't see right now. And I don't hold that against those people. I feel bad for them that they feel that that's okay. But the other thing about you saying about having this obligation when you're a new streamer to like to please everybody that comes into your chat just reminds me of like every streamer that I've watched, and me included, you know, back then, when it's like, hey, oh my goodness, oh, it's so nice to meet you, thank you so much for coming in, I love cock 67, oh, it's so nice to have you here, you're so amazing, how was your day? Oh, my day's been fantastic, like, you know, I streamed today, and I'm also streaming tomorrow from 2 p.m. till 3 in the morning, so that I'll be here for you, please come back. And then that person's like left like half an hour ago, and that's kind of like every stream to begin with. And once you start to realize, because for example with me, I started in doing like Nintendo games and stuff, like I loved playing Mario Kart, I loved doing that kind of stuff, but my audience was really young. So with my depression, then having to be all upbeat worked for me in one respect, because I was, you know, just slightly more enthusiastic behind what I was doing. But at the same time, I realized that I was faking it for the wrong reasons, you know, like I was pandering to an audience that of people that I didn't connect with. And ultimately, like when I changed what I was streaming and realized I didn't have to fake being who I am, I can just be honest and be the individual that I want to be. That's when I discovered a fucking load of amazing individuals, and that's why chat is now filled with just lovely individuals that I am so grateful to have in my life. And that comes from just being honest, you know, being honest and faithful to yourself and believing in yourself and going, hey, I'm a good enough person that people want to come and hang out with me for me. Not because I'm playing a game or because I'm interacting with them in the way I'm interacting with them. You know, it's being able to be honest and true to yourself. So that's something, you know, trying to like keep us just on the edge of the depression conversation, at least, with the fact that that it can be a struggle to do content creation as somebody who suffers with mental illness. But at the same time, hopefully we're trying to just give you guys a taste of the fact that everybody, regardless of whom they are, you know, Bill Gates, for example, his first company failed. His first company was fucked. I don't know exactly what happened, but he ended up going bankrupt and he had to start again. And then his second company was the one that took off, and all that stuff. I do need to answer somebody in Anita's chat said, does Giddawid have Tourette's as well? No! But I think that's funny that somebody thought that was the case. So my apologies if I'm acting so.
I think something that is unusual among us four, at least, is that overall we would much rather have healthy, quality communities rather than just 20k views and people being just completely, let's say, rampant,
Yeah.
for the lack of a better word that is suitable. Yeah.
It's community, isn't it? It's like a family. You kind of, I think, a common ground is that we all kind of see our community, like our friends, and which at least, like, I don't know, you'd want to hang out with them. You know, you want to have a conversation with them. You want them to kind of be on the same wavelength and chill with them. You know, yeah.
Yeah, I've also definitely had people that said, I will support you for forever. I will always be around. And then those people are not around anymore for whatever reason. Like, they've left the community, and, you know, sometimes that's just because life moves in mysterious ways, and, you know, not everyone's always going to be there. But again, that kind of goes back to the grief thing. It's like, you can focus on the fact that you've lost that person, or that they're not coming back, or anything like that. Or you can just take it in your stride and go, hey, I really hope that I've influenced that person's life in a positive manner, and that they can find peace in that, and then move forward from it there. And, you know, it's been really nice to have people from like 3 years ago when I started streaming suddenly pop back in one day, and you're like, holy shit, I'm so happy to see you. Like, how are you? To have that moment with them. So it's it's pretty phenomenal. I guess we're kind of winding down now in terms of the podcast itself. So maybe we should do like a final question or something, and then call it there based on our timings of what we planned.
Oh shit, yeah. Where's the time gone? What the hell?
Yeah. The time flies.
Sorry.
When you're having fun.
One question I was going to ask is, if this were a weekly thing, would you guys tune in? Would it be something that you'd want to watch on a more regular basis with us? Or even a monthly thing or a bi-weekly thing? Like, just let us know what would work for you guys if you want to have more of this.
Oh, wow. Are you seeing this?
Oh my goodness.
I haven't seen a single no yet.
Because personally, we would love to approach more topics and different kinds of mental health in terms of Mental Health Mondays. We'd love to talk about like creativity, for example, in terms of how you can deal with stuff, and also take more questions throughout the week. I'm sure Anita's mods could help us with sorting out a load of questions from the chat. And we'd love to approach that stuff, and then basically have just a podcast of us chilling out, hanging out together, and, you know, talking about shitting and other things.
Yeah, exactly. Like, overall, we talk about little shit, but I think...
Why was that so funny?
I saw a comment earlier. Someone mentioned me and said that something that I said was something that helped them at that specific moment. And at the end of the day, this is why we're doing this. Even I think that for me, even helping that one person makes these 3.5 hours more than worth it.
I mean, Al, you've helped me in the time that I've known you already.
I did.
Oh, stop.
No, but genuinely, like, coming across people and finding them online is so exciting to me, because it's rare when you find people that you connect with on a deep level, but when you find those people, you can't help but just want to give them a big hug and be like, oh, you know. So I really appreciate that. Somebody did say at least one show of approach to video games to mental health. I think that's a great suggestion. So if you guys have more suggestions, please let us know, and we will absolutely look into covering topics for you on a regular basis.
I have a lot of
holy
those.
moly.
Oh, wow.
Coffee.
Thank you. You're amazing,
Aww.
Coffee. You're amazing. And thank you ever so much for all the kind words today. And thank you so much for all the nudge love, guys. I've had a good cry this morning about it. It was really tough because I wanted to give him so many more years to appreciate a free life. He came from such a horrendous background, and I don't feel like I gave him enough time to see all the good in the world. And, you know, 5 or 6 years was not enough. kitten. But you know, I'm gonna carry on. I'm gonna carry on with Anya, and I'm gonna get her somebody new at some point to keep her company, because you know she is a bun. She needs a husband. You know?
Oh, that's so cute.
And yeah, she's been she sat by the box that he was in and sniffed him, and kind of, you know, she understands what's happened. She's not waiting for him to come back.
Yeah.
Because every time I took him to the vet, she was like panicked, and she'd break out of her cage and go looking for him.
Oh, bless.
And she'd sniff his face, and as soon as she'd done that, she'd go pee, because she was holding it until she found him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bless,
So-
it's so adorable.
Yeah.
Oh, I really want to give you a big hug. It's
Yeah.
really, it's just really, it's one of those things, isn't it? It just really hurts, like to lose some to lose someone that you love, or someone, you know. Yeah.
shit. Are you guys seeing this?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's so
Holy
crazy. You
fuck.
guys are amazing.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
guys
thank you so
are
much for the support.
mind-breakingly good.
Yeah.
Look at all the love today, dude.
Oh.
Thanks for telling me the other day to come and watch this. You're more than welcome,
Aw.
sweetheart, and I'm glad that it's helpful. I thank you so much for the resounding positivity,
Yeah.
guys. I have a dick. Like,
Yeah, it's
I
pretty
feel
awesome.
That's honestly, again, we didn't expect anything coming into this. It was just, you know, it's kind of just worked out, because ultimately the other day Anita was playing Overwatch. I was like, have you got space for another person? I came in, Al said they didn't have a fourth for this podcast. I was like, hey, I'll happily hop in and talk about my depression and stuff. So the fact that you guys have been so positive and overwhelmingly supportive of the fact that we're trying to just offer you guys a voice for a lot of people that can't find theirs, or find it really difficult to talk about stuff, is so amazing. And yeah, I know we'd certainly love to do more of this for you guys, and keep being awesome. I do feel like we've hit sort of a natural
Close.
conclusion. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been
today.
a really lovely night.
It's
and
been amazing, yeah.
yeah, I definitely think this is something that like people need and Twitch needs.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm really glad that I've got an invite to this, and hopefully like I can be back again or whatever. And I think that, I don't know, I think this is like the seed of something beautiful to be like you know, to come from it. And yeah, thanks for the invite. And I hope that I've been able to like at least say something that helps somebody.
Please make sure you go check LucieePie out as well, by the way, if you haven't already. I know that she's not streaming today, and same with Owl. They're not necessarily streaming right now, but that doesn't mean that they don't stream. So please go and hit that follow button just to go and listen to them on a more regular basis. Honestly, I can't stress enough how amazing all three of these people are. I absolutely adore them, and you should definitely spend more time with them. Yeah.
And just a little thank you to Roxasora, and I just read the name. I'm so bad with names. And Tilla Cream. Thank you both so much. That was amazing. And welcome everybody who's just become a part of the community. And good night, everyone.
Yeah.
This has been amazing for a first go, and definitely we'll find more ways to make this interesting and to be more interactive with everybody. Yeah. Thank you for the great questions and the great evening.
I'm gonna go play DBD.
Have a good one. Oh, by the way, soon we're going to compile the things, the list of the things that we referenced. So we're going to look at that.
I'm ready to get Red Filth by Lucy. That's what's in my chat. Oh, Red to Filth. Sorry for the tarot.
Sometimes like tarot can literally be like MTV Road with you and tarot. Yeah, my sister just came in my room. Sorry, chat. She was like, Lucy. I'm like, fucking stream. Yeah,
Alright, guys.
they're not harsh though. They're just they're pretty good. They're pretty good. They're really helpful. I have a lot of different ones. I have ones that have lots of positive, nice things on, and there's ones that, you know, are a bit more like, this is what you need to sort your shit out with. But yeah, it's really interesting. A lot of like what tarot is and my beliefs and stuff is all in like the description of my channel. But yeah, it's also, even if you're not into that kind of stuff, it's really nice to even just sit and listen to the conversation that happens, because even if, you know, you're into that kind of stuff or not, a really good discussion happens around, you know, advice and daily lives and the issues that, you know, people have, and it's really cool. It's really cool.
The 4 of you should do Dead by Daylight Survive with Friends. That sounds great. That sounds like a lot of fun.
I am terrible at surviving, and that's more of a killer.
But yeah, thank you for having us. Just
Amazing.
as a quick plug, once again, please go check Lucy out. She does tarot readings. Check out Owl and his amazing ASMR related voice. And
Check your ass, fuck face. Sorry.
I will. He also reads.
Thank you.
Reads contemporary. He does contemporary performances of awesome fucking things, and also plays games as well. Anita obviously plays Getting Over It. She has a main of Getting Over It on the channel, so that's a full-time job. So please make sure you help her get over it. And then I'm currently on a Twitch Sings kick. I'm having so much fun playing Twitch Sings at the moment, which is kind of like StreamStar for or SingStar, sorry, for Twitch. So that's been a lot of fun. So if you guys want to hear me do voices like Gollum and stuff over like Disney songs, then you can come do that, or I'll be playing Dead by Daylight. So, but yeah, I'm gonna shoot off now.
Yeah, I'm gonna peace out too. Thank you for having me.
Have a good one, all of you, and thank you so very much for inviting me on.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoy the rest of your night, guys.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
I'm still here.
My screen just went blank as fuck.
I am now just a disembodied voice. Hang on, Gid. Click on something else. Here we go.